Douluo, leave everything on autopilot and become a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376 Breakthrough. Tang Heo didn't even look at the people in the tavern. He calmly picked up Bloody Mary and said to Tang San, "Kill them." As soon as those words came out, the people in the tavern, who were still mocking Tang San, instantly quieted down, as if someone was strangling their necks. Everyone looked at Tang Heo with strange eyes, and they could not detect any strong aura on Tang Heo. If they were in other places, they would only think that Tang Heo was an ordinary person in scruffy clothes. But would the person who dared to come here and ordered Bloody Mary be an ordinary person? Thinking of this, everyone's eyes on Tang Heo were filled with fear for a while. But hearing Tang Heo's words full of killing, Tang San hesitated. He wasn't afraid of killing people, but he didn't want to kill for no reason. Killing indiscriminately is no different from wild beasts. Even wild beasts kill for a purpose. They are for survival. If you want to avenge your mother in the future, you have to become stronger. Every one of these people standing in front of you now has a way to die, including me, so you don't have to worry about it. Tang Heo explained, lightly wrote, "Yes, Dad." Hearing revenge for his mother, Tang San's eyes instantly firmed. He took a deep breath, suppressed the nausea from drinking Bloody Mary, and stood up ready to start. Haha, if I want to kill Lao Tzu, then Lao Tzu will kill you first. Before Tang San could make a move, the person closest to him had already jumped out. Taking advantage of Tang San's lack of preparation, he took out a dagger and stabbed him. On the other hand, Tang San's eyes turned cold. A faint purple light filled his eyes, raised his hand to resist the attack, and started to counter-attack neatly. Bang bang bang. Boom boom boom. With this move, the slaughter began. The entire tavern turned into a battlefield, and all the guests in the tavern killed Tang San in unison. But they are not the enemies of Tang San. His movements are simple, and every shot will take away a life, and no one can resist. With his current strength, it is too easy to deal with this group of people. After a while, the 23 guests present were all lying on the ground, and those who didn't die were awarded with a flying needle to make up for the knife. HMPH, you shouldn't insult my mother. After killing people, Tang San found an excuse for himself, instantly feeling a lot better. Yes, that's how it is. Remember, when you enter the killing capital, you can only rely on yourself, where you will have no friends, and enemies will be everywhere you look. There is no good or evil. Go for it. This is my last advice to you. Tang Heo said hard-heartedly to Tang San. If you want to become stronger, you have to go through cruel tests. You cannot cultivate strong people in the greenhouse. Originally, he wanted to give this opportunity to Hu Jiu, but Hu Jiu didn't live up to it, and Hu Jiu didn't have enemies like them, and he didn't force it. Next, Tang San's killing road began. After Tang San entered the slaughter city, he quietly followed behind to observe for a few days, and after seeing that Tang San had adapted to the rules of the slaughter city, he was relieved. But before he left, he still found the king of slaughter and gave him a warning to prevent him from thinking wrongly. A few days after Tang Heo left, two new guests came to the slaughter city. One of them was Hulina, and the other was Pope Bibidang. Similar to Tang Heo's operation, after Hulina got used to the rules, Bibidang also gave the king of slaughter a warning before leaving. King of slaughter, I don't want to play anymore. Everyone treats me as their own home, right? Come here if you want, and leave if you want. A month passed in a blink of an eye. During the time when Tang Heo and Tang San left, Hu Jiu was not idle either. In the on-hook panel, his data has changed greatly. The first is the spirit ring. The first spirit ring. 33,600 years. Soul skill absorption, up to 33 times the training speed can be increased. Second soul ring, year 33,060. Soul skill change, change someone else's martial soul, or directly become a soul beast. Third soul ring, year 33,605. Soul skill teleport, when you have coordinates, the teleport distance depends on your soul power. Fourth soul ring, year 32,665. Holy light restoration dispels a negative state of the body, restores stamina, and heals injuries. 5th soul ring. 36,075 years. Rage increases all attributes by 108%. It lasts for half an hour and can be perfectly stacked with other auxiliary effects. 6th soul ring. 18,060. Entity clone. It can differentiate an entity clone, has independent thinking, and can use martial arts and soul skills. 7th soul ring. 83,500 years. Martial soul avatar. You can let martial soul evolve once without any side effects, with a 1-year cooldown point. Among the 7 spirit rings, the one with the longest age is the spirit avatar. It has the age to play with it for many years. After releasing the spirit ring, it can be seen that the pitch black spirit ring is getting thicker and thicker, and the edge of the spirit ring actually begins to start. It is mixed with other colors, but the change is not very obvious now. It is estimated that after a while, it can be seen that it has already transformed into a 100,000-year spirit ring. Point. It is worth mentioning that the cultivation speed of the first spirit ring can be increased by a maximum of 33 times. For Hu Jiu, who is a coward, he can enjoy 33 times the cultivation speed 24 hours a day. Point. In just 1 month, his level has exceeded 80. After Tang Heo returns, he can hunt for the 8th spirit ring. Point. As for the violent spirit ability of the 5th spirit ring, the spirit ring's age has reached more than 30,000 years, and all attributes have increased by 108%. After blessing, the strength has been doubled in all directions. By this time, this spirit ability has been revealed. Real power. Taking Zhao Walqi and Flender as examples, if they were blessed by Hu Jiu and their strength was doubled, they would completely be able to pity the 90th level title Douluo, and still not fall behind. Point. This is the power of auxiliary spirit masters. It can be said that when this spirit skill has doubled all attributes, the position of the first auxiliary spirit master in Douluo continent is no longer the 7 treasure glazed tile school, but is Hu Jiu. Point. And this is not the end. With the passage of time, the age of his spirit ring can still be increased, and when he hangs up to 100,000 years, it will explode with terrifying power. On the 3rd day after Hu Jiu broke through the 80th level, Tang Heo finally came back full of dust. Point. Without Tang San's drag, he returned faster, leaving Yin for so long. When Hu Jiu saw him, he actually felt Tang Heo's impatience. Could it be that Tang Heo thinks that Tang San has been staying by Yin's side and disturbing the 2-person world? So Tang Heo brought Tang San to the capital of slaughter? Hu Jiu rubbed his chin to speculate maliciously. Hey, have you broken through level 80? The moment he saw Hu Jiu, Tang Heo instantly noticed the difference in him. Point. It was also not long after the breakthrough. Hu Jiu's aura had not completely calmed down, so Tang Heo discovered the abnormality. Point. Originally, with Hu Jiu's meticulous control ability, even Tang Heo should not have been able to discover it. Point. The key is that this breakthrough is too good for him. The whole body's spirit rings add up to nearly 300,000 years of spirit power, which makes his spirit power incomparably huge. In terms of total spirit power, it is already comparable to Tang Heo's. The heyday is almost here. Point. It is precisely because the soul power is too large that Hu Jiu's aura looks a little fierce. Chapter 377, The 7 Treasures Glazed Tile School. Fortunately, I broke through 2 days ago. The corner of Hu Jiu's mouth twitched, and he couldn't hide the smile on his face. Point. It is indeed a joy to be able to break through to level 80 so quickly. Point. You must know that in Douluo continent, every soul master who can cultivate a Contran is famous. Compared with those legendary titled Douluo, Contran is the top power in world Douluo continent. Point. Many soul masters yearn for the realm of a lifetime, and he has easily achieved it. It was a fluke. Tang Heo glanced at Hu Jiu silently, and it was rare to see him pretending to be coercive. Point. After he met Yin and chatted for a long time in Yin's blue-silver grass forest, Tang Heo walked out satisfied. What kind of soul beast are you going to absorb with your next spirit ring? Looking at Hu Jiu, Tang Heo asked indifferently. He knew that with Hu Jiu's character, he might have already thought about the target of his next spirit ring. Well, I heard that there is a dark demon tiger in the Great Stardao forest. I'm going to use it as my next soul ring. Hu Jiu smiled. Point. This time, He didn't know what soul skills he would get after absorbing the dark demon evil god tiger, but he wouldn't be too bad after thinking about it, and there might be other surprises. Just the fact that the dark demon tiger was mutated from a white tiger was enough to prove its preciousness. The white tiger is a holy beast, and it is very rare in the first place, and the dark devil tiger is a mutation of a white tiger. Maybe in Douluo continent, there is only this dark devil tiger. Such a rare soul beast is not a loss no matter what. Do you need my help? Tang Heo asked. He didn't ask why Hu Jiu wanted to absorb the dark demon tiger, he just needed to know what Hu Jiu's goal was. Hu Jiu shook his head and said, "Don't bother Uncle Heo, you'd better stay with Aunt Ayan here. This time I'm going to ask Xiao Wu's two soul beast friends for help. There will be no problem." Oh. Tang Heo glanced at Hu Jiu in surprise. He knew Xiao Wu's identity, and if she could be called her friend, she was at least of the same level. If there was their help, she really wouldn't have to worry about Hu Jiu's next spirit ring. Well, then there is nothing for you here. You can leave. With a wave, Tang Heo started chasing people. After leaving for so long, he wanted to accompany Ayan. Well, this time, oh, I didn't expect Tang Heo to be such a person. It was a waste of him to fertilize and water Ayan every day during this period of time and let Xiao Wu and Zhu King chat with his wife to relieve the boredom point. After bringing Xiao Wu and Zhu King to Heavendao City, Hu Jiu also began to prepare for this trip to the Stardao Great Forest Point. Before heading to the Great Stardao Forest, he had one more thing to do. That is to go to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School to lend Ning Rangrang Point with her as an auxiliary spirit master. It might be easier to hunt spirit beasts, of course. It was undeniable that, because of Ning Rangrang's absence during this period, it made him miss him a little. With Ning Rangrang's temperament, it is estimated that Ning Fengzi might be keeping an eye on her. If not, how could she keep her? Shandao City is not far from Kibao Glazed Tile Mountain. There is a Kibao Glazed Tile town at the foot of Kibao Glazed Tile Zong Mountain. The distance between the two towns is only 10 miles away. This was his first visit in an open and honest way, and it was in the identity of Ning Rangrang's boyfriend. I don't know what Ning Feng's attitude will be when he sees him. He kidnapped his precious daughter. Is he happy or angry? After thinking about it, he came to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Before he could get close, Hu Jiu suddenly felt 2 powerful breaths rushing towards him at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, Hu Jiu's attention was drawn back. He was very familiar with these 2 auras. One was fierce, like an unsheathed sword. The other is a ghostly aura, and that gloomy and cold aura is actually comparable to that of a ghost. Needless to say, these 2 breaths were Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. If he had opened up his relationship with Ning Rangrang, he might have been very happy to see Hu Jiu. But now there is only a guilty conscience, so that they can put up such a big battle. I'm afraid it is not as simple as coming out to greet him. The visitor is not good. This thought flashed through Hu Jiu's mind instantly. Who dares to break into the territory of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School? Before Hu Jiu could speak, an angry voice came from afar. Accompanied by this voice, there is also a fierce sword key. That thick sword light obviously did not want to talk to him at all. Ha. Hu Jiu smiled slightly, holding a 3-inch knife in his hand. With a move of his finger, an extremely bright light flashed from his hand. In the distance, before the sword energy came to Hu Jiu's side, it turned into a piece on the spot. A piece of light began to dissipate from beginning to end. Senior Jan, this junior doesn't seem to have offended your old man. Why did you use this method as soon as you came up? Hu Jiu asked. Hey, I'm holding an injustice for my family. Rangrang, do you know how many times our little princess has talked about you during this period of time? But you're a good kid, hiding outside and spending a lot of time alone. Did you almost kill us? Did the little princess forget? Sword Douluo's cold voice came, and the next moment, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo appeared in front of Hu Jiu. Hello, to seniors. You have wronged the kid. These days, I wish I could fly to Rangrang's side, but Uncle Tang Heo explained to me a very important matter, so it's a delay. Hu Jiu with a pleasing smile. Tang Heo, HMPH, don't try to press me with Tang Heo's name. I'm not afraid of him. Chen San said to Hu Jiu angrily. Hey, I'm not afraid of him, but I remember you talking about how powerful he was some time ago. Gu Rong next to him laughed. You fart, you stinky bone, who are you with? Hearing Gu Rong's words, his heart froze, and his temperament as a peerless swordsman was completely wiped away. Haha, am I telling the truth? You dare to say that Tang Heo isn't that powerful? Gu Rong was not afraid of Chen San, and quarreled with him on the spot point as a result. The two of them were arguing, and they forgot about Hu Jiu. Hu Jiu, taking advantage of the quarrel between the two, Hu Jiu's mind moved, leaving a physical clone in place, and the main body teleported silently to the mountain point. These two made it clear that they came to trouble him, and now the most important thing is to find Rangrang. The possessive charm, she is the nemesis of these two old men. Hu Jiu was very familiar with Ning Rangrang's aura. He secretly entered the 7 treasure glazed tile school, and his perception ability spread out, and he immediately sensed Ning Rangrang's aura. Whoosh, Hu Jiu instantly appeared beside Ning Rangrang. At this time, Ning Rangrang was sitting on a chair reading a book boredly with a book he didn't know what it was written on. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 Ning Fengzhin-039, S Decision. Yeah, why are you here, brother Jiu? I miss you so much. When Hu Jiu teleported in front of Ning Rangrang, she didn't want to hide it at all, so she discovered it as soon as she appeared. Seeing the sudden appearance of Hu Jiu, Ning Rangrang screamed and rushed towards him. I miss you too, so I came to see you as soon as I finished my work, Hu Jiu said with a smile, hugging Ning Rangrang's soft body. HMPH, with Xiao Wu and Yu King here, I don't believe you will miss me. Lying in Hu Jiu's arms for a while, Ning Rangrang's expression changed, showing an unhappy expression. Hu Jiu's head was not stupid either. Knowing that Ning Rangrang wasn't really angry, he just felt that he was being left out. Under his long wet kiss, Ning Rangrang quickly surrendered. The whole body was paralyzed in his arms, and there was no strength in his body. Yo, are you so sensitive? Seeing Ning Rangrang's flushed face, Hu Jiu almost couldn't control it, but now is not a good time. Originally worshipping the mountain upright, but because of the two old guys Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, he forced him to sneak up the mountain, and now it seems that he has a loss. Rangrang, stop playing, your father knows I'm here. Grabbing Ning Rangrang's little hand, Hu Jiu became serious, not being serious. Just as Hu Jiu finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Princess Rangrang, the sect master asked me to inform you and the guests to go to the sect hall. Yeah. Dad found you? Ning Rangrang was startled. She thought Hu Jiu came quietly. I came here to worship the mountain openly and honestly, but I was blocked by Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Seeing that their faces were not very good, I secretly came to find you in desperation, Hu Jiu said with his hands spread out, his face full of expression. Have no choice. These two old men doted on Ning Rangrang too much. Ever since they found out that he was with Rangrang, they began to dislike him. How could Grandpa Giant and Grandpa Bone block you? Don't be afraid, I'll talk to them right now. Ning Rangrang stood up anxiously, dragged Hu Jiu, and walked out. Seeing Ning Rangrang's anxious look, Hu Jiu felt pity for the two old men. Before she got married, her elbow turned out. After following Ning Rangrang out the door, Hu Jiu took a serious look at the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Looking around, the surrounding buildings are all made of exquisite kingangite. The eaves are high, and there is also a delicate jade hanging on it, which looks elegant and atmospheric. Along the way, there were sect disciples everywhere. After seeing a handsome man next to Ning Rangrang, they all looked at him with strange eyes. They had never seen such a small woman as Princess Rangrang. Dad, I'm taking brother 9 to see you. Before anyone entered the main hall of the sect, Ning Rangrang's voice first reached Ning Feng's ears, seeing that her precious daughter became excited because of Hu Jiu's appearance. The easygoing smile on Ning Feng's face froze. Women's colleges won't stay. Ning Feng's, he said to Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo with a wry smile. Haha, this shows that a little princess has finally grown up. I think Hu Jiu is pretty good. Although Gu Rang's face was at hen, and with only a few strands of hair hanging from his bare forehead, he was very surprised. Hu Jiu had a lot of goodwill. I knew that Grandpa Bon was the best for me. At this time, Ning Rangrang had already dragged Hu Jiu in. My little nephew has met Uncle Ning, Senior Bone Douluo, and Senior Sword Douluo. Because of Bone Douluo's words, Hu Jiu had a good impression of him. Zhao Jiu, you're welcome. Let's sit down and talk as if we were at our own home. Ning Feng's, he said with a smile. Point from the expression on his daughter's face, she could see that she had fallen in love and couldn't help herself. Even he, the father, couldn't stop her. Of course, he didn't even think about stopping him. If this person was Hu Jiu, he would acquiesce to the situation. Okay. Before Hu Jiu could agree, Ning Rangrang had already dragged him to find a place to sit down. Zhao Jiu is the first time to come to our 7 treasure glazed tile school. How does it feel? Seeing that Hu Jiu had already sat down, Ning Feng's, he started chatting with him. Very. But, as expected of the number 1 auxiliary sect in Douluo continent, Hu Jiu told the truth, without any compliment point. Leaving aside the wealthy buildings of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, Hu Jiu found that there were a lot of spirit masters here. In terms of high-end power, they were probably stronger than the Heaven Dao imperial family. It was no wonder that even Zuking worshipped him as a teacher. Haha, we are all getting old, and the sect will have to support you young people in the future. Ning Feng said with a gesture of greeting. Well, what Uncle Ning said is right. With Rangrang's aptitude, he doesn't say he is a god, but the title Douluo is certain. In the future, the title of the first auxiliary spirit master in the mainland will definitely be Rangrang. Hu Jiu smiled. He knew what Ning Feng's he meant, but he was afraid that the power of the 7 treasure glazed tile school would fall into his hands in the future. But in fact, he is really not interested in the 7 treasure glazed tile school. He will definitely become a god in the future, and he doesn't like the sect. Haha, Zhao Jiu is right. Rangrang will be your first Douluo in our family to be titled with the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda. Ning Feng's, he said happily, without showing any modesty. Boy, what level are you now? How do I feel about your specific strength? At this moment, Sword Douluo Chensin suddenly asked. Exactly. Level 80. Afraid that Sword Douluo wouldn't believe it, Hu Jiu let go of his soul power. But, boy, it's really level 80. Bone Douluo on the side looked at Hu Jiu in surprise, obviously very surprised by his level. Alright. Ning Feng's, he was so happy that he said yes again and again. When he confirmed that Hu Jiu's level exceeded 80, he already regarded Hu Jiu as his son-in-law. Hu Jiu's strength made an astonishing thought emerge in his heart. Maybe, become a god. With Hu Jiu's cultivation speed, the title Douluo was a sure thing, and no matter how young he was, maybe he could become a god in his lifetime. Even if he can't become a god, he can become an invincible peerless Douluo. And his daughter is now with him. Thinking of this, even the always calm Ning Feng's, he couldn't hold back his emotions. Zhao Jiu has done a good job. I'm very happy that you can break through the 80 level, uncle. In this way, I will let Uncle Jian and Uncle Gu help you hunt down the soul beasts so that you can get the 8th spirit ring as soon as possible. Ning Feng's, he slapped his hand decisively said. But Hu Jiu hesitated. He already had a plan for his 8th spirit ring, but Ning Feng's, he also had good intentions. It's nothing to worry about. It's decided like this. Ning Feng's, he didn't give Hu Jiu a chance to refuse at all. At this time, he had automatically brought in the identity of the old husband. Chapter 379 Flame Lizard. Under Ning Feng's his insistence, Hu Jiu had to agree. After all, he is the future father-in-law, so if you don't agree, you won't give face. Besides, people say it is kind, even though he doesn't need it. Looks like it's time to adjust the plan. Hu Jiu thought to himself, the existence of damning erming must not let Ning Fengzi and the others know. If they knew, God knows what would happen. People's hearts can't stand temptation, and in order to avoid trouble, it's better not to let them know that damning and erming are good. In the 7 treasure glazed tile school, Hu Jiu stayed for a whole day, and by the time he came down the mountain, he had already become the honorary elder of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. No way. In the future, the old father-in-law didn't pay attention to him and actually threatened him with rangrang. In desperation, Hu Jiu had no choice but to become the elder of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. However, this trip to the 7 treasure glazed tile school was not without gain. At least 2 powerful foreign aides were invited. 2 titled Douluos of level 95 and above, plus the fusion of Flender and Liu Erlang's martial arts can be regarded as a title. Douluo and Hu Jiu, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zuking together are also a title. Douluo, Luo's strength. In this way, their side has the strength of 4 titled Douluos, and Hu Jiu can't think of how to lose. Dark Demon Evil God Tiger, the time of death has come. Back in Heaven Dao City, he did not go home immediately, but went to Shrek Academy. I discussed tomorrow's itinerary with Zhao Walqi and Flender, and by the way, I told them about Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo going together. Haha, it seems that sect mastering is very good to your future son-in-law. He even gave you the 2 most important battle strengths of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Flender joked. Flender was right. The fact that Ning Fengzi sent Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo was a testament to the importance he attached to Hu Jiu. You must know that they were Ning Fengzi's personal guardians. If they weren't around, Ning Fengzi would be too to take risks. Yeah. Hu Jiu really had nothing to quibble about this, but he said without arrogance that Hu Jiu had the qualifications to make Ning Fengzi pay attention. In this world, after all, strength represented everything. Just like Kan Ringsu. If it wasn't for his strength, could she be so friendly to him? Maybe not. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu brought Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuking to the gate of Shandao City. Flender, Zhao Walqi, and Liu Erlang had been waiting there for a while. 9th brother, here we come. After waiting for a few people, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo also arrived with Ning Rangrong. Let's go. Flender waved his hand, and the group of 9 immediately rushed towards the Stardao Great Forest. Of course, they were not on their way more than usual. Hu Jiu contributed his transformed ginseng, and all of them turned into big eagles and flew from the sky to the Great Stardao Forest. Among the people present, even Ning Rangrong, the weakest, had a rank of 57, and his flying speed was not slow. Everyone traveled day and night, and it took only 7 days to arrive at the Great Stardao Forest. Teacher Erlang, have you chosen your 8th spirit ring? I'll help you find any spirit beasts you need. After arriving at the destination, Hu Jiu asked first, there are no requirements, as long as it is a fire attribute soul beast with a lifespan of about 80,000 years. Liu Erlang knew some of Hu Jiu's abilities in exploration, so he didn't hide it, and said cheerfully, is it just fire attribute? This is easy to handle. Hu Jiu lowered his head and pondered, then looked at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu, I remember that there is an extinct volcano in the south of the Stardao Great Forest. If you want to find a suitable fire attribute, go to it's the right thing to do over there. Yes, there should be something the godmother needs there. Xiao Wu nodded and said, since we have a goal, let's go and see it first. What do the 2 seniors think? Flender asked respectfully to Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Well, your arrangement is that the old bones and I will only kill the soul beast, and you will be responsible for the rest. Sword Douluo Chenzin said, yes, senior. After confirming the location, the group immediately ate Hu Jiu's transformed ginseng, turned into an eagle again, and flew towards the extinct volcano that Xiao Wu pointed to. With Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo present, the entire group could be said to be on a rampage, and their powerful spirit power aura was not concealed at all. The soul beasts encountered on the road, whether they were in the sky or on the ground, felt their breath and wanted to bury their heads in the ground, not even daring to make a sound, for fear of being caught and eaten by them. There are no taboos, strolling in the courtyard, talking about them. An hour later, the crowd stopped at the extinct crater. Wait for me to feel it. After the spirit power level reached the 80th level, Hu Jiu's perception range had reached a diameter of 10 kilometers, and it was not difficult to perceive a soul beast suitable for Liu Erlang. Closing his eyes and feeling a little, Hu Jiu opened his eyes in the eyes of everyone's expectations. Yes. Hu Jiu smiled indifferently, then pointed in a direction, and took the lead in walking. Follow me, sort. Douluo glanced at Hu Jiu in amazement. He really didn't know that Hu Jiu had this ability. After a while, he didn't even feel a hair, but Hu Jiu said that he had found the target. This kind of ability amazing indeed. He also did not doubt Hu Jiu's judgment. There was no need to deceive them in this kind of thing. So he would rather believe that what Hu Jiu said was true. Sure enough, under the leadership of Hu Jiu, they discovered an 80,000-year-old flaming lizard. This flaming lizard's head had turned into a dragon. The scales on its body flashed red, and a powerful flame aura rose from its body. When the flame lizard found Hu Jiu and others, it immediately felt wrong. In its perception, the auras of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo were simply unfathomable, but just a little sense of it made it tremble and surrender just for a moment. This flame lizard didn't want to be as violent as the legend. After looking at them, he immediately turned around and fled without stopping. What a cunning beast. Sword Douluo Chen's inside in admiration, stretched out his hand and summoned. The Spirit 7 killing sword appeared in his hand, and a sword energy with a fierce light quickly shot out, attacking the flame lizard directly. Old Bone, hurry up, don't let it escape. The soul beasts of more than 80,000 years already have preliminary wisdom. They know how to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages, and when they have feelings of fear, they can run away when they know they can't beat them. So be very careful when hunting this kind of soul beast, because it can still run if you can't beat it, and it is very difficult to get a soul ring. It's a pity that it encountered too powerful Soul Douluo. The moment Sword Douluo started, the Bone Douluo also moved, and he didn't see any movement from him, only his figure disappeared instantly, and so on. When it reappeared, it was already in front of the flame lizard, blocking its path one after another with Sword Douluo. Don't be idle, all of you, don't let it run away. With Sword Douluo's greeting, Flender and the others also acted. Flender and Liu Erlang used their martial soul fusion skills to become a flying fire dragon blocking the sky, while Zhao Walqi hid on the left alone. Hu Jiu, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhu King also completed the fusion of martial arts at the same time, turning into a huge tiger man blocking the right side. This time, the flame lizard can be said to have no way to go to heaven and no way to enter the earth. Chapter 380 Feeding Sword Douluo. Raw Sword Douluo followed with a sword light and hit the flame lizard's scale armor. Sparks suddenly splashed around, visible to the naked eye. Where Sword Douluo attacked, there was a piece of scale armor that fell to the ground, revealing the tender skin inside. And this attack also angered the flame lizard. With a howl, the flame on the flame lizard instantly expanded, condensed in his mouth, and a huge fireball with astonishing heat spurted out of its mouth and shot at Sword Douluo. Boom boom boom. With the fire lizard's counterattack, the prelude to the battle officially kicked off. Behind him, a black mist appeared on Bone Douluo's hands, and the black mist rose in the wind, covering the flame lizard at once, and the corrosive sound of puff puff caused the flame lizard to scream again and again. Zhao Walqi and Hu Jiu took advantage of this opportunity to bully them and slap them with fists and slaps mercilessly, beating the underdog. The flying fire dragon, which was flying in midair, was not idle either, spewing hot flames from its mouth, bombarding the target non-stop. Facing the siege of the crowd, the flame lizard couldn't even fight back and could only passively defend in place, unable to rage. In fact, if it is not their group of people who appear today, it may be another result. After all, it is a soul beast with a lifespan of 80,000 years. Even if it is placed in the Stardao Great Forest, it is a strong person occupying one side. It is an existence that ordinary people would not dare to provoke. But today was unlucky. Let it meet Hu Jiu's group of people. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo are titled Douluos, and they are also first level powerhouses. In titled Douluo. Flender and Liu Erlang's spirits fused together, and their combat power was no less than titled Douluo. The same is true for Hu Jiu. With Xiao Wu and Zhu's Yuking, the 3-in-1 fusion technique displayed by the three is stronger than that of Flender and Liu Erlang. Outside the battlefield, Ning Rangrang looked enviously at the huge tiger man formed by the fusion of Hu Jiu and the three, and pitifully blessed them with the augmented soul skill. It's a pity that this thing is not something you can join if you want a point, even if Hu Jiu wanted to use a 3-in-1 martial soul fusion. He had to turn his martial soul into Damu Bei's white tiger first. Fortunately, as long as the martial spirit has been changed by him, the next time it is changed, there is no need to face it. Otherwise, I'm afraid that his and Zhu's Yuking's netherworld white tiger martial arts fusion skills will be useless. Seeing that the injury was getting worse and worse, the flame lizard's desperate trump card broke out. I saw it roared, and a layer of flames erupted from its body. With the explosion of the airwaves, its body began to expand rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a behemoth with a body length of 30 meters and a height of 5 meters. This kind of ability is similar to the spirit avatar of a spirit master. It takes a long time to use it once, and it is not easy to use it, unless it is a special circumstance. Good beast. Even if it breaks out, you can't run away. Xiao Jiu, get out of the way and let us come. The flying fire dragon in midair fell to Hu Jiu's side. And Hu Jiu also took advantage of the situation to withdraw, and immediately released the martial arts fusion skill. In the end, he was a food type soul master, and support was his forte. Swish swish. Several violent ginsengs flew out of his hands, and fell precisely into the hands of everyone who was still fighting. You kid, if you have this thing, you should have taken it out long ago. Hu Jiu laughed, and quickly swallowed the wild ginseng. All attributes are blessed with 108%, allowing Xiaowaoqi's strength to be improved in all directions. Likewise, the effect of berserk ginseng is also useful for title Douluo. It was the first time that Hu Jiu's berserker participated in the holding effect, and the expressions of sword Douluo and bone Douluo changed at the same time. If it weren't for the fact that there was still a bit of city government, I might have screamed. This is an increase in all attributes, and it's still an improvement. Even Ningfeng's he couldn't do anything about it. Ningfeng's 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda only blessed a single attribute, and only 80% of each attribute would be blessed if it was too much. That is to say, the effect of Hu Jiu's spirit ability can resist the blessing of all Ningfeng's spirit ability, and the blessing is more than his. This is the power of full attribute enhancement. Just like Oscar. His multicolored unicorn sausage can only increase his blessings by 10% at most. Even so, he is called a very powerful soul skill. Good guy. Fengzi has really found a good son-in-law. Even Sword Douluo, who was displeased with Hu Jiu, changed his opinion of him at this moment. If he had known that Hu Jiu possessed such a formidable blessing soul skill, he probably would have had a different attitude. Sword Douluo's strength was at level 97, and after doubling all his attributes, his strength actually broke through to level 99th in an instant. Kill. Infinite sword energy appeared in an instant, and each of them was no weaker than titled Douluo's attack. Sword Douluo's thoughts moved, and countless swords swarmed out. Hu Jiu and the others only felt that they suddenly came to the world of swords. Among the overwhelming sword ki, some were feminine, some bursting, some sharp. All kinds of sword ki filled the air, shocking the soul. The peerless Douluo's strength at the 99th level is the pinnacle of Douluo continent's strength. In front of such a dusty heart, Xiao Ji and the others do not even have the courage to do it. Boom. The sword energy erupted, the flame lizard's body gushed blood, and the flesh and blood flew. The huge body shrank in an instant, and fell to the ground with a bang, dying, and no longer had the ability to resist. You can absorb the spirit ring, sword. Douluo stood proudly, his white clothes fluttering, like a peerless swordsman. Chic, elegant, full of force. That, Xiao Jiu, your soul skill is amazing. Can you let me feel it more in the future? Because of his strength, the violent Hushin could only maintain the effect for a short while on him. The blessing effect is exhausted point, but the feeling of invincibility just now made him addicted. He felt that, if he often felt this state, he might be able to quickly improve his cultivation point after the strength reaches the 95th level. It is not a problem of soul power to improve. It needs to be realized. Only when the realization level is reached, the level will be improved. Otherwise, it is impossible to become stronger, and Hu Jiu's violent ginseng is enhanced in all directions. Just that sword just saved at least several months of cultivation perception. Grandpa Jian, now you know how powerful ninth brother is. Ning Rangrang joked. That's right, your brother Jiu is the only one. Sword Douluo wasn't embarrassed at all, as if he wasn't the one who disliked Hu Jiu before. If Senior Sword needs it, you can come to me anytime in the future. Hu Jiu certainly wouldn't refuse. Whether it's Sword Douluo or Bone Douluo, their strength is very strong. Even in the same level, their strength is one of the best pointer strength like this, although the direction of cultivation is different. But under the high-rise building, people can use a casual reminder for a long time point to have a good relationship with this kind of person. For Hu Jiu, there are only advantages and no disadvantages. Chapter 381 Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. While a few people were chatting, Liu Erlang had already released the fusion of martial arts, and took a knife to kill the dying flame lizard point. As soon as the dagger went down, a richly colored black spirit ring floated above the flame lizard point under the protection of so many people. Liu Erlang did not delay, and immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, using his martial spirit to absorb the spirit ring point. This flame lizard has a cultivation base of more than 80,000 years, and its soul power is naturally huge, and the absorption time is also longer. While Liu Erlang was absorbing the spirit ring, Hu Jiu was not idle either. Liu Erlang's spirit ring had been found, and it was up to him. The dark demon tiger was much harder to find than the flame lizard, because it didn't have a fixed nest, and its range of activities was changing at any time. Hu Jiu only knew that it was in the Stardao forest, but he didn't know its exact location. Blue silver mark. Hu Jiu thought for a moment, and a strange mark appeared on his forehead that reminded him of blue silver grass. This was given to him by the blue silver king back then, and it could be used to communicate with the blue silver grass and seek their help. Soul power was injected into the blue silver imprint, and a layer of blue light burst out from Hu Jiu's body. Within the range of his spirit, countless blue silver grasses swayed on the ground with a cordial aura. The thoughts were connected with these blue silver grasses, and Hu Jiu conveyed the thoughts of looking for the dark demon evil god tiger in an instant. Countless blue silver grasses radiated faint rays of light, connecting with each other, conveying Hu Jiu's needs to more distant places. The news has been communicated. And the next thing is to wait. Although these blue silver grasses do not have their own minds, they do have their own memories. Under the call of the blue silver mark, finding a soul beast is much faster than his own perception. In the great Stardao forest, there are countless blue silver grasses, and no one or anything can escape the perception of the blue silver grass. It's just that his blue silver imprint was given by someone else after all, and he couldn't compare to Tang San in terms of communication, and of course, he couldn't compare to Yin. 2 hours later, Liu Erlang was still absorbing the spirit ring, but Hu Jiu had already remembered the approximate location of the dark demon tiger through the blue silver seal point. After finding the general location of the dark demon tiger, Hu Jiu also felt relieved. Next, wait for Liu Erlang to finish absorbing the spirit ring, and then go find trouble with it. It took Liu Erlang half a day to absorb the spirit ring this time, and when she woke up, the sky darkened. Boom. The moment the absorption was completed, bright flames erupted from Liu Erlang's body, and the shuddering aura disappeared in a flash. At this moment, Liu Erlang finally became an 81 level spirit. Douluo, godmother, congratulations on your becoming a contra. Xiao Wu ran to Liu Erlang's side and said, congratulations. What kind of joy I am. I will only make you happy when your little lover breaks through. Liu Erlang joked. Oops, I'm also happy that my godmother broke through. Xiao Wu's face blushed in deference. Erlang, what effect does your new soul skill have? Is it suitable for you? Flender asked with a smile. Point appropriate is definitely appropriate. It depends on the specific effect point after all. This flame lizard is already transforming into the dragon genus, which is very suitable for Liu Erlang to absorb. Haha, my 8th soul skill is called Fire Dragon Armor Piercing Bomb. It can release a high intensity flame bomb, penetrate the enemy's body, and then release it in his body. As for the power, you can try it. Liu Erlang said. His eyes were on Flender, as if he wanted to shoot a cannon. Don't, my old arms and legs can't stand your toss. Flender waved his hands hurriedly in fright. He had already tried Liu Erlang's greatness. It was wild. If it weren't for his strength, can't stand it at all. Humph. Liu Erlang rolled his eyes at him, then turned to look at Hu Jiu. Let's go. Hurry up and find your soul beast. I want to test how powerful this soul skill is. Release a firebomb to explode in the enemy's body. The power is exciting. Point hearing Liu Erlang's introduction. Even saw Douluo Chenzin gave her a high look. Point this soul skill. Even if he doesn't understand the effect, he might still be able to use it. Come with me. I have found its approximate location. Hu Jiu greeted and took the lead in rushing to the location of the dark demon evil god tiger. The location of the dark demon evil god tiger was not far from them, only 34 kilometers away, and the group rushed on their way with all their might, and they reached their destination in less than an hour. After arriving at the approximate scope of the blue silver grass's feedback, it was Hu Jiu's turn. Point with the release of his perception ability. In just a short while, he found his goal. Point in his perception. There was an evil, dark aura coming from a place within the scope of that aura. The surrounding space was dark, and all the light was absorbed. Point in that dark space, even his perception ability could not penetrate. This is the realm. Hu Jiu is very familiar with this situation. This is how he opened the ice and fire realm. Point. But now it's the dark realm. As expected of the dark demon evil god tiger, it is indeed powerful. Hu Jiu secretly rejoiced. Point the stronger the dark demon evil god tiger is, the more powerful it will be after he absorbs the spirit ring. How can this make him unhappy? Point generally speaking, 10,000-year soul beasts have no domain ability and will only have domain when they evolve to 100,000 years. In this regard, the advantages of soul beasts are much stronger than that of human soul masters. You must know that, even if you cultivate to the title Douluo realm, among human soul masters, you will not necessarily have a domain. Point. However, the dark demon evil god tiger has possessed the domain ahead of time, and this alone is enough to prove its power. Or, just as Hu Jiu and the others approached, a low roar came from the dark realm. In their sight, a huge soul beast stood up from the crawl and looked viciously in their direction. Come over. It was a gigantic black tiger. Its entire body was pitch black, without any variegation. Its red eyeballs exuded an evil aura. Its body was more than 8 meters long, and its muscles were knotted. After standing up, it was 5 meters high. Point. This body type is almost comparable to Zhao Waoqi's martial soul avatar on the black tiger's forehead. There is a king character printed, exuding this trembling aura. Point. The most peculiar thing is its tail, which is different from ordinary tigers. His tail is like a scorpion tail that stands up, and there is a huge barb at the top of the scorpion tail, emitting this dark light. Point. This scorpion tail was made up of countless bones, and Hu Jiu doubted whether he would get a spirit bone attached to it if he hunted him down. Dark demon evil god tiger. So, this is the soul beast you're looking for? Durang smashed his jaws, looking at the soul beast in front of him in surprise. Point. Just based on the breath of the dark demon god tiger, he knew how powerful this soul beast was, not to mention that it still has a domain. Point. Although in terms of age, this soul beast only has a cultivation base of more than 50,000 years, but if they really fight, I'm afraid that even the flame lizard they hunted just now will not be an opponent. Chapter 382 Dark Demon Evil Thunder. Seeing Hu Jiu and the others, the dark demon evil god tiger was not afraid at all. Its scarlet eyes suddenly lit up, flashing with excitement, as if in its eyes, Hu Jiu and others were its prey. Point. I saw that, after it stood up, instead of retreating, it advanced, approaching Hu Jiu step by step. Good beast. Hu Jiu, hurry up, give me a wild ginseng. Rong. Remember to bless me. Old bone, watch it, don't let it run away. Looking at the dark demon evil god tiger who didn't take them seriously. Saw Douluo Chen's eyes flashed with excitement, and he couldn't wait to arrange it. It is good. Hu Jiu and Ning Rangrang didn't talk nonsense either. One made violent ginseng and the other held the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. Colorful rays of light flew out from her fingertips and blessed everyone. Raw. Seeing the movement on their side, the dark demon evil god tiger roared, and the evil god hook behind it slowly shook. During its shaking, a series of strange light circles appeared in the air, and strong energy fluctuations emanated from it. Along with this fluctuation, the dark demon tiger was filled with an evil aura. At this moment, Hu Jiu and the others only felt that the temperature around them had been decreasing, making their bodies feel frozen. An evil, icy aura pervades. Haha, it's a good field. Look at me. Seeing that the evil aura of the dark demon tiger was about to approach everyone, Sword Douluo took action. With the help of Hu Jiu and Ning Rangrang, he has the power of a rank 99 peerless Douluo. The intense pressure spread instantly. Sword Douluo's long hair fluttered, and at this moment, everyone seemed to come to a world with only swords. There was no life here, and the whole world was made up of swords. A sharp light emerged, forming a huge long sword in the blink of an eye. Sword Douluo waved his hand, and the long sword turned into a streamer and flew out. But the dark demon evil god tiger is not a vegetarian either. Seeing the huge long sword attacking, a trace of contempt flashed in its eyes, and it disappeared in place between its feet. Space. Teleportation. Sword. Douluo's eyes lit up, and then he made sword fingers with both hands, and the huge long sword in midair stopped instantly, flipped, and changed direction to kill in another direction. Although the dark demon evil god tiger can teleport, the distance is not too far, only within a range of more than 100 meters. This distance is nothing to them. Old man Jian, can you do it? I'll do it. The Bone Douluo next to him sneered. HMPH, you can do it. Sword Douluo said angrily. He really has no good way to deal with this slippery soul beast. If it were other soul beasts, he could solve it with just one sword, but this dark demon evil god tiger could teleport, just as cunning as Bone Douluo. This is also the reason why, for so many years, even though his strength is stronger than Bone Douluo, he has been fighting indistinguishably. Bone Douluo's spirit could allow him to hide in the bone prison to avoid real world damage, and it also had the teleport function, so even Sword Douluo couldn't do anything about him. I'll go up. Bone Douluo was not polite, and his figure instantly appeared in front of the dark demon tiger. Countless sharp bone spurs emerged from the ground, turning the surrounding space into a bone prison made of bones. Raw. A dark light erupted from the dark demon evil god tiger, turning into a shockwave, smashing Bone Douluo's bone prison into pieces. Kill. Here, Sword Douluo was not idle. Taking advantage of Bone Douluo's containment of the dark devil god tiger, he immediately summoned his sword energy to attack. By the time dark devil god tiger reacted, it was too late. Swish swish. In desperation, the dark demon evil god tiger waved its claws, and black sharp blades appeared in midair, facing Sword Douluo's sword key attack. Fire. Dragon armor piercing bullets. Here, Liu Erlang sullenly used the 8th soul skill he had just acquired, and saw an illusory ball of flame silently appearing in front of the dark demon evil god tiger. The fireball seemed to be born in another dimension. It is useless to let the dark demon evil god tiger resist. In the end, it got into its stomach under the furious eyes of the dark demon evil god tiger. Boom. With a sound of explosion, the fire dragon armor piercing bullet exploded in its stomach amid the screams of the dark demon evil god tiger. This solid blow made Hu Jiu and the others go numb. Although Liu Erlang was not the one who attacked them, just seeing the miserable appearance of the dark demon evil god tiger was enough to make one's heart shiver at this moment. Even the strongest Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo had their eyelids twitching. At this moment, Zhao Walqi and Flender listed Liu Erlang on the list of people who must not be provoked. Especially Flender, for fear that one day he would make Liu Erlang angry. He also shot himself a fire dragon armor piercing bullet. Yeah. Godmother is amazing. Zhao Wu exclaimed excitedly. Really powerful. The body was attacked internally, and even the dark demon evil god tiger suffered serious internal injuries. Raw. The dark demon god tiger was furious, and a strong grey light erupted from his body, and the grey light condensed together, to form a circular sphere point. This is a powerful skill of the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger, called Dark Demon Evil Thunder. Integrate its own magic and evil into one, and then burst into a terrifying power in an instant. It is a mixed range attack of the three attributes of wind, thunder, and evil. Point bang 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 bang. A strong explosion sounded like a thunder flash point. The violent roar alarmed countless soul beasts in the Stardow Great Forest, and even damning and erming in the depths of the forest felt it. Point the terrifying explosion destroyed a large number of surrounding plants. Even Flender and the others who were hiding in the distance were affected, and their bodies were thrown out by the strong explosion. Point deep in the Stardow Great Forest. Point Damming's bullhead emerged from the water. Ming, this movement seems to be made by the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger, and it seems that there is still the aura of Xiao Wu and Xiao Jiu. Damming said solemnly. Roar. Worming looked at Damming anxiously, as if he wanted to rush to help. No, Xiao Wu has sent us a message. Please don't act rashly. This time, there are two powerful titled Douluo with them. We will cause them unnecessary trouble in the past. Damming said, don't worry, even if they can't beat him, it's no problem to escape. Don't forget, Xiao Jiu has teleportation ginseng. If he can't beat him, he will run away. Although, the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger erupted with an extremely powerful Dark Demon Evil Thunder. It was not feeling well after this blow. Point originally, he was seriously injured after being sneak attacked by Liu Erlang's fire dragon armor piercing bullet, but with the explosion of a lot of soul power just now, the injury was further aggravated. Point a large amount of blood flowed from the corners of the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger's mouth, and his scalded eyes also dimmed. He lay down on the ground softly, gasping for breath. Accompanied by kicks, he kept pulling out his body, as if he was about to die in the next moment. Generally, this damned beast, I didn't expect to have such a powerful ultimate move. Fortunately, I stayed far away, otherwise I would have been pulled over to my back. Xiao Walqi got up from the ground and cursed loudly. Chapter 383 Evil God Hook. Teacher, wait a minute, this beast is pretending to be dead. Seeing Xiao Walqi walking towards the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger in a panic, Hu Jiu hurriedly stopped him. Point others don't know the ability of the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. How could he not know? Its trick to turn people into children has not been used yet. How could it be defeated so easily? Hearing Hu Jiu's words, Xiao Wuji hurriedly stopped. Point at the same time, Flender and the others who came forward with him also became cautious, looking at their eyes. Hu Jiu smiled faintly, condensed a small knife in his fingertips, and used his soul power to shoot at the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. Sure enough, seeing that the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger couldn't deceive them, he roared angrily, his huge body propped up instantly, and the Evil God Hook behind him silently turned black. Point the originally curved Evil God Hook stopped instantly. Like a long spear, the scholar eyes also turned blue in an instant, and it seemed that the color was exactly the same as Zhu King's ghost cat. Point a rich black light erupted from the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger, a flash, and his body had appeared in front of Xiao Wuji. Point at the same time, the spear transformed by the hook of the Evil God swung instantly, and a bright black light burst out at the tip of the hook of the Evil God, and a strong light bloomed. At the black spot, a black hole with a size of 3 meters instantly appeared. What the? Infinite suction came, and Xiao Walqi, who was closest to him, slowly shrunk his body with the suction of the black hole, and was about to be sucked into it the next moment. Boom. At the critical moment, Hu Jiu's mental power burst out with all his strength, and the mental shock surged out of his brain, instantly piercing the black mask on the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger's body, and immediately submerged into the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger's mind, attacking his sea of consciousness. Now, Hu Jiu's mental strength is so huge that even Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo can't compare. He was hit by Hu Jiu's mental shock, and the Dark Demon God Tiger screamed, and the vitality of his body disappeared in this one. Boom. A bead condensed from the corpse of the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. When he saw it, before Hu Jiu could react, he fell into the black hole in midair with a swish. Point after the bead sank into it, the black hole disappeared instantly, as if it had never appeared. Point and Xiao Walqi, who was almost sucked into the black hole, because of the absence of the black hole, his body changed back, and fell to the ground. Grass, my beads. Hu Jiu looked annoyed as the most precious thing on the dark demon evil god tiger disappeared, almost going crazy. If he had a choice, he would rather have the bead than the spirit ring. If the spirit ring is gone, you can find it, and if the bead is gone, it will be gone. He didn't expect that something that even Tang San didn't catch would end up not being caught by him. Jiu, what beads? Looking at Hu Jiu, who had a lost face, Wu ran over and asked, "Oh, it's nothing. I'll just absorb the spirit ring honestly." Hu Jiu sighed. It seemed that the bead was destined to be the protagonist. He didn't have that chance. After calming down, Hu Jiu set his eyes on the black spirit ring floating in the air. Following his thoughts, he attracted the spirit ring of the dark demon evil god tiger through the attraction of the spirit ginseng. He sat cross-legged on the spot and began to absorb the spirit ring. As soon as he inhaled the spirit ring into his body, he felt a huge amount of spirit power flooding his entire body, and that spirit power carried an icy and evil aura, rampaging through Hu Jiu's body, ramming wildly. HMPH, be honest with me. Hu Jiu snorted coldly, and the spirit power of his whole body exploded. The spirit power that was insane just now was instantly suppressed, and then slowly refined. Hu Jiu's spirit power is so huge. After 7,000 years of spirit ring blessing, the 8th spirit ring's spirit power is not even 1/5. What's more, it was not only the inner core of the dark demon tiger that flew away just now, but also its soul. In other words, the spirit ring that Hu Jiu absorbed would not encounter a soul shock at all. The reason why the spirit power rioted just now was that it had just entered Hu Jiu's body and was incompatible with his spirit power. Soul rings without soul shocks are easier to absorb. With all out refining, it only took 2 hours to complete the refining. Boom. Just when Hu Jiu thought he had absorbed his soul power and was about to open his eyes, an accident happened. He only felt that his tail vertebrae began to riot the moment he finished absorbing the spirit ring, and a piercing pain hit him, causing him to let out a scream involuntarily. Jiu, what's wrong with you? Hu Jiu's scream startled Wu, and the other Wu and Zhu's Yuking were the most nervous. They appeared in front of Hu Jiu in a flash, and at that speed, even Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo could not react. Of course, the reason why Wu and Zhu's Yuking responded so quickly was because they had been paying attention to Hu Jiu. There is also Ning Rangran who has been paying attention to Hu Jiu, but her speed is a little slower. Not as fast as Wu and Zhu. Click click. There was a sound of bones exploding, and then a tail made of bones emerged from behind Hu Jiu, and then stood up high. There was a rich black light flowing on the bones of that section, and at the top of the tail, a barb like a scorpion tail flashed this deep cold light. In that way, it is exactly the same as the tail of the dark demon evil god tiger on the ground. External spirit bone. Everyone present was well informed. When he saw Hu Jiu's appearance, he couldn't guess what happened. One by one, they stared at Hu Jiu's buttocks with glowing eyes, looking excited. This is a spirit bone attached to the outside. Although I don't know what effect it has, I can tell from the appearance that it has a strong attack power. What are you looking at? Don't mess around. As soon as Hu Jiu opened his eyes, he saw a group of people staring at his ass with glowing eyes. If a woman looks at it like this, it's okay. The key is that Zhuoqi and Flender also look like this with that look. He saw that his eyes tightened, and he involuntarily took 2 steps back. Looking at them was similar to looking at a pervert. Boy, you are very lucky. Not only did you get the spirit ring you wanted, but it also came with a spirit bone attached to it. You're lucky too. Interested. His martial spirit is a bone dragon, and he has been dealing with bones all his life. He is of course very interested when he sees the bones and scorpion tail behind Hu Jiu. However, although everyone envied Hu Jiu's luck, they were not jealous. Needless to say, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo have reached their level of strength, and they have very little need for external things to improve their strength. The most important thing is their own perception. And Zhuoqi and the others would not have any thoughts. Hu Jiu was a student they taught. The more powerful Hu Jiu was, the happier they were. Haha, really lucky. Hu Jiu said excitedly. Originally, he was quite disappointed to have lost the beads of the dark demon evil god tiger, but he didn't expect to have an unexpected joy after absorbing the spirit ring. This external spirit bone is not simple. If he was given a choice, he would rather not have beads. Chapter 384 Dark Demon Evil Thunder Bomb. To be honest, Hu Jiu was also surprised that he was able to obtain a spirit bone from the dark demon evil god tiger this time. Remember that in the original book, Tang San didn't get any attached spirit bones, but he got it, which made him have to sigh about luck. It seems that Tang San's luck is not as good as his. The same spirit beast, Tang San didn't have a spirit bone when he killed it, but he did when he killed it. TSK. This external spirit bone should be regarded as the coccyx. It is called the evil god hook. The hook tail can be extended and can be used as a whip or a spear. It can be long or short, hard or soft, and it can be regarded as a good weapon. But this is not the main function of the evil god hook. What really made Hu Jiu feel against the sky was that this evil god hook inherited the stunt of the dark demon evil god tiger, the arena of life and death. The arena of life and death is a bizarre arena space. If it is sucked into the arena of life and death, only one side wins, or the owner of the arena actively controls it to escape. The most unbelievable point is that after the enemy enters the arena of life and death, not only will they not be able to use spirit skills or spirit bone skills, but their age will also go backwards. Regression of age means that the strength will be weakened. For example, Tang San, when he was 6 years old, his martial spirit had just awakened. His level was only 10th rank. He didn't even have a spirit ring. Of course, with Hu Jiu's current ability, the effect is definitely not that good, but it's not a problem to make people 3 or 5 years younger. And this weakening, the owner of the arena of life and death will not be restricted. This soul skill is more useful than Hu Jiu imagined. Maybe when the evil god hook evolves, it is possible to turn others into babies at once. Absolutely. Hu Jiu, the ability of your spirit bone is absolutely incredible. Hearing Hu Jiu's introduction, even Xiao Wu was envious. Haha, if you like it, I can give it to you. Hu Jiu laughed. I don't want it. Such an ugly bone doesn't look good at all. Xiao Wu said with a grimace. The evil god hook can only be regarded as a pleasant surprise. The most important thing is to absorb the soul ring of the dark demon evil god tiger, making him officially a soul Douluo. Level 81 food type soul Douluo. This is all great. Food type soul masters are very rare and difficult to cultivate. Even food type soul saints are rare in the entire Douluo continent. Otherwise, Kyan Rinksu wouldn't be so kind to him. What's more, now that he has become a soul Douluo, I'm afraid that when Kyan Rinksu finds out, he will have to offer him up as an uncle. A soul Douluo, no matter where he goes, he will respect him like a guest, not daring to be slighted in the slightest. I'm level 81. Feeling the surging soul power in his body, Hu Jiu couldn't hide the smile in his eyes. Congratulations, Xiao. Wowki and others also happily sent their blessings. Flender even jokingly said to Xiao Wuji, old Xiao, now your disciple has become a soul Douluo, and with his cultivation speed, I'm afraid that it will not take long for him to surpass you. What Flender said was the truth. Xiao Wowki had just broken through level 82, and with Hu Jiu for his average cultivation speed, it would be a matter of time before he surpassed him. It's called green comes from blue, and is better than blue. What do you know, you old bastard? Xiao Wowki rolled his eyes. Besides, you are his dean. When Xiao Jiu passed me, he also passed you, by the way. Don't you feel ashamed, Dean, when that time comes? Haha, how is that possible? Flender snorted. Haha, I'm the proudest thing in my life to be able to teach such an excellent student as Xiao Jiu. After I go back, Xiao Jiu will come to the academy and give it to you. Let your younger brothers and sisters be a role model. Did you teach Xiao Jiu? That's my direct disciple. What's your business? Xiao Wowki cursed angrily. Although he didn't teach Hu Jiu very much, at least in name, he was Hu Jiu's teacher. That's my Shrek student too. The two began to argue about who Hu Jiu was a student. These two old fellows really embarrass me. Liu Erlang smiled and shook his head, then looked at Hu Jiu. Zhao, Jiu, what is your 8th spirit ring? Is it convenient to say? Haha, nothing to say. My 8th spirit ring is not a buff effect. It is an offensive spirit ability. You have seen the effect of this spirit ability. It is the Dark Demon Evil Thunder that the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger cast just now. And the effect of my soul skill is similar to this one. I call it the Dark Demon Evil Lightning Bomb. After using this soul skill, I can make my ginseng possess the power of 3 mixed attributes of wind, thunder, and evil, and produce an explosive effect with amazing damage ability. The power of wind can speed up the speed of ginseng, and the power of thunder can produce explosions and lightning paralysis effects. As for evil, it is evil energy, and evil energy enters the body, which can make people feel unbearable. Hearing Hu Jiu's explanation, everyone looked at him in surprise. This spirit ability is incredible. Generally speaking, as a food type spirit master, it is impossible to possess offensive spirit abilities. Even Oscar in the original book can only be regarded as possessing offensive ability. Strictly speaking, it can only be regarded as auxiliary spirit ability, and Hu Jiu is the real offensive spirit ability. Being able to possess an offensive spirit ability, I have to say, Hu Jiu's luck is really good. Of course, it can also be said that this Dark Demon Tiger is very special. Haha, okay, 9th brother, should I call you a spirit Douluo of the assault system from now on? To say the happiest, I'm afraid that Ning Rangrong, because of the sect rules, her other half must be attacking spirit masters, so as to protect her safety point. Although Ning Fengzi disregarded the rules of the sect and did not interfere with their being together, because of Hu Jiu's talent for cultivation, she still heard some rumors in the sect. Well, now, Hu Jiu has the attacking spirit ability, so he can justifiably block the mouths of those people. In the future, although there is only one attacking spirit ability, if there is one, there is one, and it cannot be measured by quantity. Haha, yes, I won't be in the food department in the future. Hu Jiu patted Ning Rangrang's head amusingly, not knowing why she was so happy. For him, strength is everything, whether it's food or attack. After all, even if he didn't have this attacking spirit ability, he still had quite a few self-created spirit abilities, and he also had spirit abilities attached to his spirit bones, so his attack ability was not weak. It's just because of the effect of martial soul that other people have an illusion. Okay. We've been busy all night. It's almost dawn. We should go back. Liu Erlang stretched his waist, revealing a beautiful curve, and straightened Flender's eyes. Well, wait for me. The Dark Demon Tiger is a good thing, and Hu Jiu will not let it go. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385. The Soul Beast Corpse of more than 50,000 years is a great supplement to the 8 Spider Lances. Under the control of Hu Jiu, the 8 Spider Lances have obtained sufficient energy, and their wings have flourished, giving him an extra pair of wings. After becoming a Soul Douluo, Hu Jiu was not afraid of revealing many things, such as the evil god hook he had just obtained, as well as the tongue-attached soul bones and the 8 Spider Lances, which were not reluctant to use. Of course, he still concealed some small details about the thing with the tongue attached to the soul bone. Only his closest friends, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and Ning Rangrong, knew the secret function. Came to a small town near the Great Stardao Forest, and after a short rest, Hu Jiu suddenly said that he was going to stay here for a while. What's the matter? You're not going back with us? Flender asked. Well, it won't take long for Zuking to break through, and it will be troublesome to go back. It's better to stay here, wait for her to break through, and find a spirit ring for her before leaving. Hu Jiu said with a smile. In fact, not only Zhu Zuking, but also Xiao Wu and Ning Rangrang will break through soon. He had already discussed this matter with Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and Ning Rangrang. After Flender and the others left, he took Xiao Wu and the others to Daming and Erming to stay for a while, and it happened that he hadn't seen them for a long time. Rangrang won't leave. Looking at Ning Rangrang, who didn't leave with them at all. A playful smile appeared on Bone Douluo's face. Yes, Grandpa Bones, I'm not going back. I finally came out. I don't want to be dragged by Dad to learn his management knowledge. Ning Rang Grang stuck out his tongue and said coquettishly, haha, I knew it. Bone Douluo laughed loudly, but you can't escape this matter. Anyway, the 7 treasure glazed tile school will be yours in the future, so you still have to learn the management knowledge, HMPH. I don't want it. Ning Rang Grang wrinkled her nose, showing no interest in those things with this time. It is better to spend more time with her 9th brother. That's really embarrassing your bone grandpa. I'm afraid that, when we go back, your father doesn't know how to complain about us. After joking, Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo, Xiao Wuji and the others still left point. They are usually very busy. If it wasn't for hunting spirit rings this time, they still don't know when they would be able to come out. Now that the spirit rings are busy, of course they have to go back quickly. Point after they left, Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu smiled at each other. After purchasing some living supplies in the town, they rushed to the Stardao Forest again. Point this time, they will live in the Great Stardao Forest for a long time. Point with their strengths, although they were not weaker than titled Douluo when combined, and even after using martial soul fusion skills, ordinary titled Douluo would not be opponents, but it was still a bit dangerous to go to the center of the Stardao Great Forest by yourself. Point so after coming to the outskirts of the Stardao Forest, Xiao Wu used her peculiar ability to inform Erming. Point with Erming there, they would not encounter unnecessary trouble. Point because she was going to take Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang Grang to see Daming and Daming. Xiao Wu also told them her identity. Point when Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang Grang knew that Xiao Wu was a soul beast, they were really surprised for a while. Point fortunately, the relationship between them was already behind them, and Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang Grang weren't the kind of stubborn people, and they didn't look down on Xiao Wu because of her identity. Point on the contrary, the two of them were still curious about Xiao Wu's identity, and they chatted and asked her about the transformation of the soul beast into a human. Point not long after the signal was sent, Erming appeared in Hu Jiu's perception. Let's go, Erming is here. Hu Jiu greeted and rushed towards the direction where Erming appeared with Xiao Wu and others. When Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang Grang saw Erming's appearance, their eyes widened in surprise. Point Erming's body is really too huge. Even if he is lying on the ground, he is 10 meters tall. If he stands upright, he is probably about 20 meters tall. Point that is to say, the trees in the Stardao Forest are already high, and they are only 50 meters high to 100 meters high, so they can hide Erming. Point otherwise, I'm afraid it would have been banned by the Ming Dynasty long ago. Point even now, it and Erming rarely leave their territory. Point after all, although they are strong, if you really want to deal with them, it is not impossible. Point sitting on Erming's body, several people finally felt the feeling of passing by. Point Hu Jiu was even thinking, when he will become a titled Douluo, he will take Daming and Erming out for a walk. How majestic it is to pull to such cool mounts out. Not long after, they also arrived at their destination. Daming appeared. Seeing that he was even bigger than Erming, Zhu Zuking and Ning Rang Grang were once again surprised. Wow, Daming, you've grown up again. With your current cultivation base, I'm afraid you've been up for 200,000 years. Xiao Wu asked excitedly. Yes, I just broke through not long ago. It is thanks to Xiao Jiu's cultivation of ginseng, or else I would not have broken through so quickly. Daming blinked his hill-like eyes, and said gratefully. Point what it says is the truth. In the past few years, whenever there is an opportunity, Hu Jiu will give them some cultivation ginseng from time to time. Their bodies are very strong, so every time Hu Jiu gives them the highest standard cultivation ginseng. In this way, the progress of cultivation is of course very fast. Point not only did Daming break through the 200,000 year age limit, but Erming was also about to break through. Currently, he is an 180,000 year old soul beast. Point if Bibidong wanted to hunt them down again, it might not be so easy. Point here. Hu Jiu and the others also saw Xiao Bei and Xiao Hu who were taken care of by Daming Erming. Point Hu Jiu was not stingy with these two rabbits. Daming Erming had them, and they all had them. Point under the feeding of Hu Jiu, their cultivation has exceeded 10,000 years after all. He owed their mother Pink a big favor back then. Teleportation soul skills and spiritual skulls have always been one of his core abilities, so he would not treat Pink's sons and daughters badly. In this way, Hu Jiu lived in the damning Erming site for more than a month. In more than a month, Zhu King broke through to level 60, Ning Rang broke through level 59, and Xiao Wu broke through level 68. In the Great Stardao Forest. Of course there was no shortage of spirit rings. Under the leadership of Erming, the king of the forest, a spirit beast that was most suitable for her was found. This is a 20,000-year-old ghost tiger. It is useless to deal with this soul beast. Hu Jiu alone can solve it. Hu Jiu and Ning Rang were the assistants, while Zhu King and Xiao Wu were the main attackers under the absolute speed of the two. This ghost tiger died extremely miserably, with small wounds everywhere, claw marks and knife marks. After absorbing the ghost ring of the nether spirit tiger, Zhu King broke through the rank of 60 and became a 61 agility attack spirit emperor. The acquired soul skill is called nether possession. It is an auxiliary soul skill, which can increase the evasion chance by 50%, increase the self-resistance by 20%, and increase the attack piercing effect by 30%. The effect is very good. Chapter 386. After Zhu King broke through, Ning Rang and Xiao Wu were next. Ning Rang is currently level 59, and it is estimated that he will be able to break through 60 within a month. But what Hu Jiu looked forward to most was Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu is already at level 68. For her, reaching level 70 will essentially improve. After level 70, Xiao Wu's soul will transform into a human, and will no longer be associated with the soul beast. In terms of bloodline, Xiao Wu will be a real person in the future. Of course, the most important thing is that after Xiao Wu becomes an adult, Hu Jiu can eat her. In the past, he was afraid that eating Xiao Wu too early would affect her. But at level 70, this effect disappeared. Soon, a month has passed. Ning Rang also achieved a breakthrough, reaching level 60. During this period of time, Hu Jiu's spirit power level has changed a bit. Hu Jiu, Wuhan Ginseng, level 82 food type soul Douluo. Xiao Wu, martial soul soft bone rabbit, level 69 agility attack type soul emperor. Zhu King, the spirit cat of the netherworld, is a 61 agility attack type soul emperor. Ning Rang, martial spirit 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda, 60th level auxiliary spirit king. Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu were promoted by 1 level respectively. Because Zhu King just broke through, it will take some time before he wants to break through. Self-created soul skills after promotion: meditation, intimacy, perception, poison escape, spiral pill, cloak hammer, Vajra wrought iron body, void walk, distraction control, hand knife. Self-created soul skills that have not been promoted: nether soul requiring level 9, white tiger sound killing raw level 8, shockwave level 8, dominant body level 7, storm demonic wolf 36/level 2. Among them, the 2 soul skills of distraction control and hand knife were promoted during this period. There is no limit to the number of distraction control now. You can use 1 heart and 1 heart, or even 1 heart, as many as you want, as long as there is enough mental energy. With this soul skill, Hu Jiu can completely turn into a killing weapon, and all kinds of soul skills can exert their power to the greatest extent under the effect of distraction control. The 8 spider lances can be controlled separately, which is equivalent to 8 more helpers when fighting the enemy. This is not the end. The tongue-attached spirit bone, the evil god hook, and other spirit bone skills can also be controlled separately. There is also the hand knife. This soul skill has already been played by Hu Jiu. After the hand knife is promoted, although the name is still the hand knife, there is no limit to the shape. Any weapon can be as small as an embroidery needle, as large as a big hammer. As his mind changes combined with his subtle hidden weapon skills, there is absolutely no problem in treating him as a hedgehog. When he was bored, he competed with Xiao Wu and the other Xiao Wu, Zhu King, and Ning Rang attacked him. But Hu Jiu only used 2 soul skills, one to control the subtle hidden weapon technique, and the other is the hand sword soul skill. Countless hidden weapons came out from his hands: lancets, locust stones, money darts, bone penetrating nails, silent sleeve arrows, etc. These hidden weapons built by Tang San were condensed by his spirit power, and the three of Xiao Wu even got close. Can't do it point in the end. Under the blow of his infinite hidden weapon, he could only reluctantly admit defeat point after the promotion of these two spirit abilities. Two hang-up positions were vacated. One was used by Hu Jiu to petrify the right hand bone of the mammoth, and the other hang-up was used by Feng Xiaoshan for the 36th consecutive slash of the Gale Demon Wolf point, before he hung up the phone. He had predicted that, if the Storm Demonic Wolf 36 slashes were upgraded to the end, they would definitely be able to merge with the Chaos Cloak Hammer as a food type Soul Master. Generally speaking, he has no attack ability point, therefore, they can only rely on external forces, such as spirit bones and self-created spirit abilities. But for the average person, each of these two conditions is very difficult to achieve. Point the first is the spirit bone. Unless it is a member of the direct line of a big family, there is very little chance to have a spirit bone. Even many spirit masters have never even heard of the name of the spirit bone in their entire lives. Compared with soul bones, self-created soul skills are also rare, and the cultivation of self-created soul skills is very difficult, and most people have no talent for cultivation at all. Point of course, people don't want to waste this time. If you have this time, it's better to use it to improve your spirit power level. Once your spirit power level is raised, you can hunt for spirit rings, and naturally you will have spirit ring skills. It can also increase the strength point. Therefore, for a soul master, soul skills are a tasteless thing. It is tasteless to eat, and it is a pity to abandon it. Point. But Hu Jiu is different, because he can hang up. The more soul skills, the better. After Ning Rangrang's level was raised to level 6, with the help of Hu Jiu and others, he quickly obtained the 6th spirit ring, and became a 61 auxiliary spirit emperor. Her 6th spirit ring skill is an attribute booster, which can boost the target's strongest attribute by 70%. If it is applied to Hu Jiu, it can increase his spirit power by 70%, and if it is applied to Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuking, it can increase his agility by 70%. In addition to her other spirit ring abilities, the blessing effect on a single attribute is stronger than that of Hu Jiu. For example, the second spirit ring's agility increase, coupled with the strongest attribute increase, blessing Xiao Wu can increase the agility attribute by 140%. In the same way, the increase of soul power and the increase of the strongest attribute are also 140% on Hu Jiu. Point. The title of the #1 auxiliary spirit master in the world is well deserved. Point. After that, Xiao Wu was left with no breakthrough. Point. This wait is 2 months before Xiao Wu broke through. Hu Jiu was the first to have a surprise. Point. It wasn't Hu Jiu's level breakthrough, but the cooldown of the 7th spirit ring skill had reached 1 year. His 7th spirit ring has a particularly powerful effect, that is, it directly evolves the spirit master's spirit once, which is very domineering. Point. For the first time, Hu Jiu used it himself, and let his Wuhan Hu Ginseng evolve into Ginseng. Point. The second time, he was going to use it for Xiao Wu first. Point. Whether emotionally, or in terms of sequence, the first target is her. Xiao Jiu, are you going to use the spirit evolution ability on me this time? Xiao Wu asked half expectantly and half tangled. Of course, you're my Xiao Wu. If you have good things, don't give them to you, and give them to anyone else. Hu Jiu said amusingly, but he also saw Xiao Wu's concerns. After all, there are Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrang by her side. She is afraid that they will be overheated. Don't worry, it's not a long time anyway. I'll give it to Zuking and Rangrang next time. Hu Jiu comforted. Yes, it's better for Sister Wu to use it first. Now is a critical time for you. If you can evolve your martial spirit once, there should be greater benefits. Ning Rangrang said, this it seems to be really beneficial. Tell us about it. Seeing Xiao Wu's face, Hu Jiu's mind moved, and he immediately asked, well, there are indeed a lot of benefits. Xiao Wu did not hide it after hearing Hu Jiu's question, and immediately explained it. The evolution of the martial soul is the improvement of the essence. You all know this, but I'm a little different from you. If I let my martial soul evolve before level 70, then when I absorb the source, I can let the 7th soul evolve. The age of the ring is increased to 100,000 years. Chapter 387 Re-Evolution. 100,000 Year Spirit Ring. Hu Jiu did not expect that Xiao Wu actually gave him such a powerful surprise point. This is a 100,000 year spirit ring, and so far, he doesn't even have one. Since there are such benefits, what are you waiting for? At the moment, Hu Jiu didn't care about listening to Xiao Wu's explanation, and decided on the spot to let her martial spirit evolve. Point beside them, Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrang also looked at them expectantly, but they were very curious about how Xiao Wu's spirit would evolve. Point on this side, Hu Jiu had already moved, and saw that he stretched out his right hand. The ginseng martial spirit appeared in his hand, the 8 pitch black spirit rings under his feet slowly rhythm. The vigorous spirit power fluctuations emerged, and the strong momentum was rising. Point even Daming and Daming, who were resting beside them, were startled. Point when Hu Jiu thought about it, the 7th spirit ring under his feet instantly lit up, and the ginseng in his hand rose against the wind. When it stopped, it had become the size of a hill. Point the anthropomorphic facial features look even more majestic. Point however, with Hu Jiu's 5 fingers grasping, the ginseng in front of him exuded a urging light, and bursts of seductive aromas emanated. If it weren't for the fact that this was the territory of Daming and Erming, I'm afraid that the nearby spirit beasts would have rioted long ago. Point the rays of light erupted, and the thick ginseng shrank quickly, and suddenly it became the size of ordinary ginseng. Point this ginseng is golden, like a beautiful treasure. Eat it and let me see it. After making the evolved ginseng, Hu Jiu stretched out his hand and handed it to Xiao Wu. Then Panxi sat on the ground, waiting for Xiao Wu's spirit to evolve. Point although he only made one ginseng, it seemed as if he had been hollowed out, and even his body was much weaker. It is good. Xiao Wu was not polite, took the evolved ginseng, and ate it in small bites. The ginseng melted in her mouth. Xiao Wu only felt a sweet smell bursting in her mouth. The ginseng she ate turned into a warm current, quickly gathered in her body, and finally poured into her martial soul. Point and her martial spirit also refused to come, and absorbed all the energy. Point outside, Xiao Wu's body involuntarily began to possess her spirit. Point a pair of pink bunny ears popped above her head, and her eyes turned pink. Point a faint layer of moonlight radiated from the surface of Xiao Wu's body. At this moment, it was clearly day outside, but she seemed to be a fairy in the moonlight, cold and full of charm. The evolution has begun. Hu Jiu, Zhu Zuking, and Ning Rangrang saw Xiao Wu's changes. In their astonished eyes, the moonlight on Xiao Wu became stronger and stronger, and finally formed a silver white light cocoon, wrapping Xiao Wu inside. Point like the heart of the human body, the light cocoon shows a thump, thump, thump. Point this kind of change continued until the night, when the moon came out, and the moonlight fell on the earth. A new movement appeared. Point at the position of the light cocoon that Xiao Wu had transformed into. A phantom shadow of a rabbit made of moonlight appeared above the light cocoon. The phantom shadow was like a real substance, and every hair was clearly visible, floating gently with the breeze. Could it be that Xiao Wu's martial spirit has something to do with the moonlight? Zhu Zuking stared at Xiao Wu intently, for fear of a new change in the blink of an eye. It should be. Have you forgotten? Xiao Wu's spirit fusion skill is Moonlight Fairy, and it's normal for her superior spirit to be related to moonlight. Point whoosh. In the effort of these few words, the phantom of the rabbit on Xiao Wu's body shrank sharply, and suddenly penetrated into Xiao Wu's body, and then the light cocoon that wrapped her began to shatter, and finally turned into bits of light that dissipated in the air. Middle. Point at this time, Xiao Wu's figure had appeared in front of everyone. Point from the outside, Xiao Wu's appearance didn't change much, but the pink rabbit ears that represented her martial spirit logo turned silvery white. Point the red eyes also turned into a faint blue, which looked even more mysterious. The biggest change was probably the tail. He had seen Xiao Wu's rabbit tail before. It was a fluffy mass, like a ball, and it was very comfortable to touch. Point but now her tail has changed a lot, like a fox's tail, sticking out at least a meter long. The silver white hair is very fluffy, growing on her back, and shaking gently. Point as soon as the tail appeared, a strange light flashed in Hu Jiu's eyes. This look was seen by Xiao Wu, who had just opened her eyes and winked at him playfully. Little Nyangpi, wait and see how I will deal with you after you're level 70. The ghostly soul bell in Hu Jiu's mind rang softly. Obviously Xiao Wu didn't do anything, but her astonishing charm ability was natural. Even the nether soul bell was alarmed. Xiao Wu's appearance has not changed much, but her temperament has changed. After the evolution of her martial spirit, her originally very cute and playful temperament turned out to be like a fairy in the sky. Her body exudes a serene temperament, as if her whole person has matured in an instant. My martial spirit has evolved successfully. However, this temperament only lasted for a moment, and when she jumped up happily, this temperament was broken. Come here, let me see your tail. Hu Jiu raised the corner of his mouth and beckoned to Xiao Wu. Zhu's King's tail is a cat's tail, and he also likes to play with it. But now seeing Xiao Wu's tail, I want to hold it in my hand and play with it. Cat girls and bunny girls were all collected by him. Hu Jiu can imagine that he is about to usher in a happy life. Sister Xiao Wu, tell me quickly, what will your martial spirit be called after it evolves? But before Hu Jiu could go up, Ningrangrang took the lead and ran to Xiao Wu to look around. My martial spirit has evolved from a soft bone rabbit to a moonlight rabbit. After Xiao Wu's explanation, they finally knew what the moonlight rabbit was. Soul beasts like moonlight rabbit are also very rare. This kind of soul beast is similar to the legend, very rare, even rarer than the dark demon tiger in Douluo continent. The name Moonlight Rabbit was only briefly introduced in ancient books. It tells that the Moonlight Rabbit is the incarnation of the moon god, the elf walking in the world, etc. But there is no more specific. Very mysterious as the owner of Moonlight Rabbit martial spirit, Xiao Wu got some information from somewhere. In terms of level, Moonlight Rabbit should be regarded as a god level martial spirit. God level martial arts have a characteristic, that is, people who awaken this martial arts do not need to cultivate at all. With the passage of time, their own soul power will naturally increase, and there is a chance of breaking through to become a god. And the reason why the Moonlight Rabbit is of course related to the moon. Every night, as long as the moonlight appears, Xiao Wu's spirit will automatically absorb the energy of the moonlight and increase its own spirit power at 10 times the speed of cultivation. And this speed of improvement will be further enhanced as a level increases. This ability makes Xiao Wu happy. After her spirit has evolved, she no longer needs to practice. Even if she sleeps, she can improve her spirit power level. Chapter 388, Xiao WN-039, S spiritual body. I thought it would take several days for Xiao Wu to reach level 70, but after her martial spirit evolved into a moonlight rabbit, she broke through in just one night. This is a good thing. Whether it was Xiao Wu or Hu Jiu, they had waited too long for this day. After reaching level 70, Xiao Wu couldn't wait to start the next step. She is different from others, because it is the reason of the soul beast. She does not need to hunt for soul rings like human soul masters. As long as her strength is achieved, she can create a soul ring by herself through a special transformation process. And because of the hurdle of the 70th rank, this time not only can the identity problem be solved, but also a soul ring with a lifespan of 100,000 years Xiao Wu wanted to absorb. The spirit ring, which attracted a large group of people. Hu Jiu, Zhu's King, Ningrangrong, Daming, Erming, and 2 rabbits, Xiao Bei and Xiao Hu. A group of people or beasts surrounded Xiao Wu, wanting to witness the birth of a 100,000-year spirit ring. Xiao Wu didn't waste any time. She just sat cross-legged on the ground. Her hands condensed a strange handprint, and a series of mysterious and strange sounds came out of her mouth. These voices are like prayers in ancient times, and with the appearance of the voices, an invisible wave emerged from her body. Moonlight Rabbit's martial spirit spontaneously possessed. And 6 spirit rings, a Huang, a Zi, and a He, spread out and stopped at Xiao Wu's feet and moved slowly. At the same time, a huge moon-white rabbit formed behind Xiao Wu, and a faint red light spread on Xiao Wu, and then like blood, it slowly merged into the shadow of the rabbit behind her. With the injection of red light, the phantom of the rabbit behind him slowly condenses and slowly transforms into an entity. When the entire rabbit phantom was completely filled with red light, a strong light erupted. In the light, the shape of the rabbit phantom began to change, and as the light converged, it turned into a red spirit ring. The bright red color carried a terrifying coercion. At this moment, even Daming and Erming's eyes showed a longing light. The energy that penetrated into the blood vessels made Daming and Erming drool. On the ground, Xiao Wu's body slowly rose, actually suspended in midair, still sitting cross-legged. As soon as the red spirit ring appeared, the knife flew above Xiao's head and immediately put it on her body, merging with the other spirit rings at the beginning. It couldn't coordinate with the other spirit rings, and Xiao Wu's face also showed a painful expression. Obviously, the 100,000-year spirit ring was still too much pressure for her now. Hu Jiu was very distressed by the painful appearance. However, Xiao Wu gritted her teeth and insisted, "This is a 100,000-year spirit ring. If you want to obtain a spirit ring that exceeds the limit, how can you do it without paying a price?" Fortunately, it may be because this spirit ring was originally the reason why Xiao Wu gathered herself. With her insistence, it didn't take long for it to calm down, and Xiao Wu's painful expression also calmed down. After the absorption of the 7th spirit ring was completed, Xiao Wu's body seemed to become more harmonious. Her tall figure, whether it was her chest or buttocks, seemed to be a little plump and round, and her whole body was full of vitality. A pair of long legs almost shook Hu Jiu's eyes. Because of the reason why her martial spirit evolved into a moonlight rabbit, Xiao Wu had a mysterious aura on her body, like a fairy in the moon palace. Haha, I'm level 70, so I don't have to be afraid anymore. Xiao Wu opened her eyes and sat on the ground, jumping and cheering. She had already had enough of the days of fear. Although she didn't show it when she was with Hu Jiu, she was still very scared, for fear that she would accidentally encounter a powerful soul master and be found out as a soul beast. But now that she has reached level 70, it can be said that her race has changed, and she no longer has to worry about being discovered. Hu Jiu also cheered at this moment. Together with Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrong, they hugged each other and celebrated each other. As we all know, after reaching level 70, all Spirit Master's 7th spirit rings are martial spirit avatars, but because Xiao Wu's 7th spirit ring has a lifespan of 100,000 years, the effect is of course different from ordinary martial spirit avatars. The difference in between, Xiao Wu stretched out her hand, and a moon-white rabbit with a length of 50 meters and a height of 20 meters appeared in everyone's eyes. This rabbit can be said to be the largest animal Hu Jiu has ever seen. Standing in front of it, Hu Jiu feels like he is looking at a big mountain. Judging from the breath, Hu Jiu can be sure that this rabbit is stronger than Daming and Erming. If it is calculated based on the cultivation of soul power, it has at least 300,000 years of cultivation. Little bunny, hurry up and make me smaller. Xiao Wu stretched out her slender hand and said hello. Following Xiao Wu's call, the body of the rabbit in front of her shrank rapidly, becoming the size of an ordinary rabbit in the blink of an eye. The little rabbit jumped into Xiao Wu's embrace in an instant and was hugged and stroked by Xiao Wu happily. "This is your spirit real body?" Ning Rangrang looked at this scene in amazement, and the behemoth just now echoed in his mind. Yes, it is my martial soul avatar. Of course, it can also be said to be my soul beast body. Xiao Wu talked a little about her true martial soul. Her martial soul avatar is different from others. For spirit masters, the martial soul avatar of beast martial arts is generally a variant, turning herself into a martial soul. And the real body of the spirit of the weapon is the summoning, and the body of the spirit that summons the spirit is just an enlarged version. Including Hu Jiu as well. Logically speaking, Xiao Wu's spirit avatar should also be possessed. But because she is still a soul beast, plus the age of the 7th spirit ring reaches 100,000 years, so she can summon her former soul beast body, and this summoning is permanent. As long as she does not cancel the summoning, her spirit avatar will exist forever. It can be said that with this spirit avatar, Xiao Wu's fighting ability jumped to the top, and even the next Daming and Erming combined could not beat her. My god, Xiao Wu, with this rabbit here, aren't you invincible? Hu Jiu asked in shock. Of course invincible is impossible to invincible, but if it's against Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, it's still no problem. Xiao Wu said with a smile. That's amazing too. Ning Rangrang and Zhu's Yuking's eyes were also full of envy. Stronger than Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. You must know that Sword Douluo is a rank 97 titled Douluo and Xiao Wu is only at level 71 now, which is too terrifying to improve. Haha. Xiao Wu narrowed her eyes happily. In fact, this is not incomprehensible, because the strength of this spirit avatar has been cultivated step by step before. Now it can only be regarded as a reply to the previous cultivation base. Moreover, her martial soul avatar has a major disadvantage. That is, although this martial soul avatar has no wisdom, it has life, which means that once it dies, it cannot be resurrected again. Chapter 389. Although Xiao Wu's spirit avatar is gone, it has to be said that this is a big killer. Awakening this spirit real body, Xiao Wu suddenly became the most powerful being among Hu Jiu and others. Even if he encounters Bibidan here, he is not afraid at all. It can be said that Xiao Wu's strength has already allowed her to walk sideways in Douluo continent. I remembered that in the original book, Xiao Wu's spirit avatar didn't look like it at all. It was just a few simple clones, and her combat power was not as strong as her main body, which shows how miserable she was by Tang San. Now that I think about it, this may be the result of Xiao Wu's sacrifice of herself. If you think about it, you can see that a 100,000-year-old soul beast with such a rubbish spirit body is unreasonable. Xiao Wu obtained the martial spirit, and their trip to the Stardao Great Forest ended. There are two things before Hu Jiu now. The first is that Xiao Wu has grown up and can eat at any time. The other thing was the sea god's heart that had hidden her identity to Xiao Wu at the beginning. Now that she has broken through the 70th level, the sea god's heart can't be used. After Xiao Wu returned the sea god's heart to Hu Jiu, he should also consider going to Sea God Island. Originally, he didn't want to go so early. After all, both Eggsy and Sea God Island was not so easy to deal with. But because of Xiao Wu's strength, Hu Jiu had the courage to go to Sea God Island. Of course, before going, he had to prepare well. For him, this matter is not urgent. What is urgent is that it is time to take down Xiao Wu. Since he was going to win Xiao Wu, he could just do it all the time and win Ning Rangrang 2. He's about to get ready to kill. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu took Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking, Ning Rangrang, and a group of 4 out of the Stardao Forest and set off for Shandao City. Along the way, Xiao Wu always held a little white rabbit in her arms. Strictly speaking, this little white rabbit is Xiao Wu's real body, her soul beast real body. But now she has chosen to become a human, so the soul beast avatar has become her martial soul avatar. A week passed quickly, and Hu Jiu finally returned to Heavendao City. He was in a hurry, and regardless of whether he was married or not, he slipped into Xiao Wu's room that night. That night, Hu Jiu killed the quartet, and the blood flowed into a river. At this moment, Xiao Wu finally completed her transformation from girl to woman. A day later, while Xiao Wu was recovering from her injuries, Hu Jiu entered Ning Rangrang's room again, and became the bridegroom again. Hu Jiu was not a satisfied person. After taking down Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking and Ning Rangrang, he thievingly held a celebration party and used despicable means to get Xiao Wu and Zhu's Yuking drunk. However, there seems to be a miscalculation in the process. He underestimated Ning Rangrang's drinking capacity, and he almost fell down without getting her drunk. Fortunately, Hu Jiu was smart, and when he saw something was wrong, he immediately changed his strategy and stopped drinking Ning Rangrang. This night, it was dark and dark. The sun and the moon were dark. There is no mistake in saying that when Rao Township is a hero mound. From this day onwards, Hu Jiu's taste and essence do nothing else at all, and know the romance day by day. In the end, Zuking was too blind to see, and invited him to his prince's mansion, which interrupted Hu Jiu's happy life. Brother Hu, you've been enjoying your day too much. You've been resting for so many days, but you've come to see me. Big brother almost thought you forgot me. Zuking looked at Hu resentfully. 9. Haha, how can you? Forgetting no one can forget brother Zu. Hu Jiu snorted. There was a real fire in his heart, and he blamed the absurdity of this period of time, making Hu Jiu think about that every day. No, as soon as he saw Zuking, his idea came to his mind. If he remembered correctly, this Kan Rinxu should be a peerless beauty no worse than Zhao Wu and Zhu Zuking. Now that I've been in contact with them, if I don't get into the harem, I think it's quite a loss, but Hu Jiu was not without concerns. You must know that Kan Rinxu was Bibi Dong's daughter, and Bibi Dong had a grudge against Zhao Wu. If you want to have Kan Rinxu as a subordinate, it will be a little troublesome, and Kan Rinxu is not a good person. This woman's heart is higher than the sky, and it is not so simple to recover. However, there are always more solutions than difficulties. He remembered that the relationship between Kan Rinxu and Bibi Dong was not so friendly. Thinking about it this way, the enemy of the enemy is the friend, and Kan Rinxu and Zhao Wu are still on the same front. I almost forgot, I haven't had time to congratulate you on becoming the first food type sold Douluo in the known Douluo continent. Kan Rinxu said with a smile. Although the face of Zuking looked unremarkable, the curiosity and shock in his eyes were discovered by Hu Jiu, who was keenly aware. Oh, could it be that in the entire Douluo continent food type sold Douluo hasn't appeared yet? Hearing this, Hu Jiu was curious. Of course, if you count the sold Douluo in the entire Douluo continent, I'm afraid there will be no more than 200. Among these people, there are a few in the auxiliary department, but none in the food department, so it is your big brother Zhu's vision. Alright, I was able to discover your baby so early. Speaking of this, Kan Rinxu was obviously very excited. For the current Hu Jiu, it can be called a big killer, especially on the battlefield. Its effect is almost nuclear weapon level. Whether it's to satisfy his stomach or increase his combat power, Hu Jiu can provide blessings to many people at the same time. Moreover, this kind of blessing can also be superimposed with the blessing effects of other auxiliary spirit masters without any adverse consequences. This is the preciousness of food spirit masters. I haven't even appeared in Soul Douluo before, so if I cultivate to the title Douluo realm, wouldn't it be considered the #1 food type Douluo in history? Hu Jiu said, while rubbing his chin. Of course, with your talent, it's not difficult to break through the title Douluo. I think I can call you Douluo crowned in the near future. Kan Rinxu said with a joke. Of course, all jokes are jokes. Kan Rinxu is quite confident about Hu Jiu breaking through to title Douluo afterward, without the slightest doubt. After all, Hu Jiu's future is limitless. Let's go. My brother has prepared a celebration party for you today, and by the way, let everyone know your precious food type soul Douluo. Kan Rinxu stood up and patted Hu Jiu on the shoulder. Obviously, she was going to introduce Hu Jiu to her fans, which also meant that Kan Rinxu truly accepted Hu Jiu at this moment. Like Hu Jiu revealing some of his own secrets. This is what Kan Rinxu has long thought about. After so many years of hard work, her plan has almost been completed, and now the most important thing is to finish it. At that time, Hu Jiu will definitely know her true identity, so she is going to reveal a little bit of her strength to Hu Jiu, and then let's see how he reacts. Chapter 390 Introduction to Kan Rinxu. Kan Rinxu attached great importance to Hu Jiu. In order to celebrate Hu Jiu's breakthrough in Soul Douluo, she made the celebration extremely grand, and even set the venue for the banquet in her prince's mansion. Under the leadership of the attendant, Hu Jiu came to the banquet venue ahead of schedule. When he arrived, there were already quite a few people in the hall. They were familiar with each other, and sat chatting together. Exquisite fruits and cakes were placed on the wine table. Beautiful maids shuttled through the crowd, and were busy. Hu Jiu's perception ability was swept away, and he was secretly surprised. He found that the people who could come to the banquet were all soul masters, and their rank was not weak. Each of them was above the 50th rank. There were two people who made Hu Jiu pay special attention. One was a tall and thin old man who was more than 2 meters tall. Most importantly, he discovered that this person was actually a title Douluo. Even there is more than one title Douluo here. Beside him, a man with a medium build, but a little ugly, is chatting with the master old man. After Hu Jiu's perception, this person is actually a title Douluo. It Seems that Kyan Rinxu really regards me as one of her own. The power in the hall alone is probably comparable to the royal family. You must know that even if Kyan Rinxu was the first prince, the great emperor Zuyi would not assign her a title Douluo, so these two should be her hidden strength. Today, Kyan Rinxu let him meet these people with obvious intentions. One is to have a relationship with him and introduce his subordinates to him, and the other is to be shocked. In the end, Hu Jiu was just a sole Douluo. Although in terms of importance, he was not inferior to title Douluo, but in terms of strength, he was not comparable to title Douluo. TSK. This bitch is a little too thoughtful. Hu Jiu didn't care about it at all. Anyway, he always cared about himself, and he never thought about gaining any power with her. If it wasn't for Kyan Rinxu getting the Sigurd's heart for him, he probably wouldn't even give Kyan Rinxu face. The arrival of Hu Jiu shocked some people in the hall. Those who are well informed have long known that he is the protagonist of the day. Seeing Hu Jiu's swept eyes, they all nodded and smiled to show their goodwill to him. Haha, you are brother Hu Jiu, right? I've heard from His Royal Highness the Prince that he is an amazing young talent and he can never be seen again. When I meet him today, it's really extraordinary. Sitting at the top, the long title Douluo, who was a little ugly, stood up first and enthusiastically brought Hu Jiu to their table. Whoa. Although they had long known that the first prince respected Hu Jiu, everyone did not expect that even the withdrawn Thorndolphin Douluo would be so friendly to Hu Jiu. You must know that Thorndolphin Douluo has always been withdrawn because of his ugly appearance and coupled with his high strength. Except for the snake spear Douluo and the first prince, who are at the same level as him, others ignore him. But today, he was so kind to Hu Jiu, which blinded their eyes. You're welcome. May I ask who the senior is? Although he clearly guessed who he was, Hu Jiu pretended not to know. Haha, but this old man has been neglected. The old man Thorndolphin Douluo. Next to this is Snake Spear Douluo. We are all guests of the eldest prince. Thorndolphin Douluo said kindly. He didn't dare to underestimate Hu Jiu, and even paid special attention to it. For a power attack type spirit master like them, an auxiliary type spirit master was a treasure. Not to mention a food type contra like Hu Jiu. If they encounter a battle with the blessing of food type soul masters, their combat ability can be increased exponentially. Because of Kyan Rinxu's relationship, he knew a little more about Hu Jiu's soul skill effects, especially the violent ginseng and holy light ginseng. One of them improves strength and the other can save lives. They are both amazing magical skills. It turned out to be the title Douluo. Hu Jiu has met the two of them. Hu Jiu said politely, "It's easy to talk. Let's sit down and talk." Thorndolphin Douluo kindly pulled Hu Jiu and sat down. Even Snake Spear Douluo, who had always had a cold expression, smiled and said a few words to Hu Jiu. After a while, the noble and gorgeous eldest prince also came. Haha, let me introduce to you. This is my good brother Hu Jiu. Today's banquet is held for him. My good brother is not an ordinary person. Even though he is young, he has already broken through to become a soul Douluo, and it's still food. If there is any battle in the future, I'm afraid you all have to rely on him. Kyan Rinxu strode to Hu Jiu's side, put her arms around his shoulders, and kindly introduced her to everyone. Food type soul Douluo. As soon as this introduction came out, everyone's eyes lit up immediately. Originally, they only knew that Hu Jiu was enshrined by His Royal Highness the First Prince, but they didn't know much about his rank and martial spirit. Now that they heard that it was a food type soul Douluo, they should not be too happy. Which of these battle type soul masters doesn't want to have a powerful auxiliary type soul master? If there is a food type soul master, they can definitely double their combat power this time. Everyone howled excitedly, and the sound of praise was endless. All kinds of flattering words came out of these people, which really made Hu Jiu happy for a while. The taste of being licked is good. This banquet lasted until late at night, and Hu Jiu was also toasted by an endless stream of people. Rayo was that his physical fitness was not bad, but he couldn't stand so many people. After the banquet was over, he was already struggling to walk. Haha, brother Hu, are you still happy today? Kyan Rinxu didn't drink much, because no one dared to drink her wine. After everyone left, she was the only one who stayed by Hu Jiu's side. Thank you, brother Zhu, you are so polite. Hu Jiu put both hands on Kyan Rinxu's shoulders and ate her tofu hard. Although Kyan Rinxu was disguised and looked like a man, even if it changed, it was still her appearance, and some physical features were still difficult to change. Being so close to Hu Jiu made Kyan Rinxu's body stiff and felt a little overwhelmed. But she didn't dare to refuse. Who made her a man now? In order to show kindness, she could only let Hu Jiu's unruly hands. Brother Hu, I heard that you are not married yet. Suddenly, Kyan Rinxu said with a clever idea. What's wrong? Hu Jiu asked confusedly, not knowing what Kyan Rinxu meant. Haha, it's fine if you don't have it. I have a very talented younger sister. I'll show you guys another day. She attached great importance to Hu Jiu's information, especially his several women. Judging from this information, Hu Jiu seems to be very interested in women. This also gave Kyan Rinxu some ideas. For her, this is obviously a disadvantage. It's good to like beautiful women. Couldn't this be used to win him over, sister? Hearing this, Hu Jiu suddenly woke up a bit and flashed in his mind the scenes of women disguising as men and introducing himself to his brothers. Kyan Rinxu said this. Is she planning to introduce herself to herself? Thinking of this, Hu Jiu's heart suddenly became hot. Chapter 391. Is this going to stage Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai? When he heard that Kyan Rinxu was going to introduce his sister to him, Hu Jiu's heart instantly became hot. Could it be that this girl thought he was too good, so she couldn't help being moved? She remembered that in the original book, she clearly hadn't met Tang San a few times, but at the critical moment of becoming a god, he had a spring dream. In the end, in order to attract Tang San, he even used himself to tempt him. Now he's even better than Tang San. It's possible that Kyan Rinxu is moved. I'm sick. Hu Jiu looked at Kyan Rinxu with the same expression, but she wondered if she had a mental illness, which is a pathological obedience in modern terms. Hey, it's good to be ill. Isn't this just cheap for him? Brother Zhu, who is your sister? Hu Jiu was ready to confirm whether he guessed correctly. Unfortunately, it seems that Kyan Rinxu did not give him this chance. Haha, brother, don't worry, you'll know when I arrange it tomorrow. As for now, I won't tell you. Let's keep a sense of mystery. Kyan Rinxu said mysteriously. Okay. Seeing that Kyan Rinxu didn't say anything, Hu Jiu gave up, wanting to know whether his guess was right or not, and we could see the outcome tomorrow. Because of drinking a little wine and being aroused by Kyan Rinxu's words, Hu Jiu lost sleep that night and spent most of the night before going to bed. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu came to the agreed place with great anticipation. The place Kyan Rinxu arranged was in the Swan Lake in Xiandao City, which was a scenic spot in Xiandao City. The Swan is the inherited martial spirit of the Xiandao royal family, and the place is called Swan Lake, and it has become noble as a matter of course. Some meritorious disciples or royal family members like to play here. This is also the reason why Kyan Rinxu arranged the meeting place here. When Hu Jiu came to Swan Lake, she found that Kyan Rinxu had already arrived. And beside her was sitting a little girl who thought she was cute and charming, but she was full of intellectual beauty. Hu Jiu, he actually thought too much. Maybe someone really wanted to introduce his sister to him. No, it should be someone else's sister. She is being generous to others. Brother Zhu, I'm sorry, I'm late. No matter what he thought in his heart, he still had a gentle expression on his face. It's okay, we just arrived soon. Kyan Rinxu stood up, pulled Hu Jiu enthusiastically, and introduced him to today's protagonist. This is the younger sister I told you. She taught Zuke. Turning her head, she introduced Hu Jiu to Zuke again. He is the handsome young man I told you. How about it? I didn't let you down, Mr. Hu Jiu. Hello. Looking at Hu Jiu's handsome face, a strange light flashed in Zuke's eyes. Originally, when she heard that Kyan Rinxu wanted to introduce her friends, she was quite reluctant, but now after seeing Hu Jiu herself, she said that it was really fragrant. Because of the rapid development, Hu Jiu looks like an adult, with red lips and white teeth, a personable temperament, and a gentle expression. He is talking about him. As soon as they met, Zuka was fascinated by Hu Jiu's handsomeness. Her heart was beating wildly, her face was blushing, and she looked like a young girl with a spring in her heart. Haha, sister, why are you blushing? Seeing this scene, Kyan Rinxu did not hide the teasing in her eyes. In fact, her psychology was quite strange. Thinking of her as a girl, in order to win over Hu Jiu, she personally introduced a woman to a man, which was awkward. But I have to say, deep in her heart, she felt a little excited. In this strange mentality, even the words are a lot more compared with Xiao Wu and the others. Although Zuka was also a beautiful woman, she was still inferior and Hu Jiu didn't have a deep impression on her, but he didn't seem to be interested. Maybe Xiao Wu and the others were the first, which made Hu Jiu's eyes higher. She knew that Zuka had a good impression of him, but she couldn't raise her interest. After playing with Zuka and Kyan Rinxu for a long time, Hu Jiu was ready to leave. If Kyan Rinxu went to battle in person, Hu Jiu would still be a little interested, but Zuka's case was fine. He is not someone who sends women. If he sees beautiful women and accepts them, wouldn't he be like a stallion? Haha, isn't this my eldest nephew? Aren't you in a hurry? Why are you here today, when you are free? At this moment, a pretentious voice came over. Looking up, it turned out to be Prince Zhu crossing, and beside him, he was also following the fourth Prince Zhu Beng. Prince Zhu crossing was nothing different, but Zhu Beng's face was a little wrong, and the disgust in his eyes was not concealed at all. It turned out to be Uncle Zhu crossing. Kyan Rinxu nodded politely and replied in a mild manner. During this period of time, because of her actions, Emperor Zhu Yi's health became worse and worse, and many rights began to be given to her below. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have thought of letting Hu Jiu see her personal power, but the result was very good. Obviously, after yesterday's banquet, Hu Jiu's attitude towards him was not alienated. On the contrary, because of drinking together, he became a little closer. So in front of Zhu Crossing and Zhu Beng, who often oppose her, she didn't bother to pretend. If things go well with her, it is estimated that it will not be long before the entire Heaven Dao Empire will be hers, with the credit for winning the Heaven Dao Empire. She will have the money to compete with that woman Bibi Dong. At that time, she had to let the woman know what regret was over the years. If it wasn't for this belief that has been supporting her, I'm afraid she would have collapsed long ago. Defeat Bibi Dong and make her regret what she has done. This is the only purpose of her life. Eldest Prince, it's such a shame that my father, the Emperor, valued you so much and entrusted you with the important task of running the country. I didn't expect you to be in the mood to eat, drink and have fun here. You are dereliction of duty. Zhu Beng said sharply. Heh, why, do you have an opinion? Kyan Rinxu glanced at Zhu Beng. When it comes to eating, drinking, and having fun, which one is better than you, brother? King, brother Zhu Beng, why are you two starting again? Can you stop arguing? Zook looked helplessly at the two people who didn't like each other. If it was normal times, the two of them would quarrel whatever they wanted, but today with Hu Jiu here, they interfered with them. At this moment, Zuka could not wait to blast Zhu Beng out. HMPH, for the sake of Sister Zook's face, I won't care about you today. Zhu Beng snorted coldly, his face a bit ugly. In fact, he also felt a crisis. Because of his poor health, Zhu Yi actually began to hand over his rights to Kyan Rinxu little by little. If he continued like this, the throne would be lost to him in the future. This made him angry. Haha. A cold light flashed in Kyan Rinxu's eyes. It seemed that some things had to be accelerated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392, Bibidong and -039, S-Plan. Seeing that Prince Zhu Crossing and Zhu Beng were so arrogant when facing Kyan Rinxu, Hu Jiu was curious, where did their confidence come from? So after the two left, Hu Jiu tentatively asked, hey, my brother doesn't know something. My younger brother is not very capable, but with my uncle supporting him, I can't help him. Hearing Hu Jiu's question, Kyan Rinxu's face showed a hint of joy, and then said distressedly the reason why she was happy was because Hu Jiu actually started to care about her affairs. In Kyan Rinxu's eyes, this was the beginning of loyalty. What? Brother Zhu is the crown prince? Hu Jiu asked curiously. Hey, Prince Zhu crossing is not that simple. Although he is a prince, he is also a general. He has an army in his hands, and even I have to rely on him. Kyan Rinxu smiled bitterly. Oh, now, Hu Jiu understood why Prince Zhu crossing and Zhu Beng were so arrogant. After knowing the reason, Hu Jiu quickly changed the subject. He didn't want to go any further, seeing that there is no point in staying any longer. Hu Jiu deliberately looked at the sky and then said to Kyan Rinxu and Zook, Big brother Zhu, Princess Zook, it's getting late, so I'll go back first. It's getting late. It's been a day since I came to Swan Lake, and Kyan Rinxu's blind date is not at all. It's a lot of face for her to stay for so long. Brother Hu Jiu, walk slowly, you can come and play with me when you have time. Zook said reluctantly. Well, good. Hu Jiu couldn't stand Zook's enthusiasm. He suspected that the girl was greedy for his body because he was too handsome. TSK. It seems that being too handsome is also a trouble. Hu Jiu said shamelessly. Suddenly, Hu Jiu frowned because he found a familiar aura. Why is Bibi Dong here? He had met Bibi Dong before, so he was very familiar with her breath, but he didn't expect to perceive her breath here. Could it be that you came to find Kyan Rinxu? Apart from this purpose, he couldn't think of why Bibi Dong was here. But it doesn't matter, just follow quietly and know what she wants to do. Thinking of this, Hu Jiu's mind moved, and he performed void walk, quietly hanging behind Bibi Dong. And Bibi Dong didn't seem to want others to discover her figure. I don't know what method she used, but she actually has the ability to be invisible. If Hu Jiu had not been sensitive and sensed her aura in advance, she might not have been able to spot her. The two of them quietly followed behind Kyan Rinxu and Zuke, walking towards the palace. Brother, do you think Hu Jiu doesn't like me? You see, he left early. On the way, Zook asked with a look of grievance. How come? My sister is so cute. How can he despise you? Kyan Rinxu comforted. In fact, she also knew in her heart that from Hu Jiu's attitude, I'm afraid she really looked down on her sister. Think about it too. Who can be with Hu Jiu, who is not a peerless beauty, like Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and Ning Rangrong? Each of them has their own characteristics. Ask yourself, even if she regains her daughter's body, I'm afraid it will be in her appearance. In terms of comparison, it's just about the same point, but my sister is a little worse. Then, you say, will he go out with me in the future? Zook said expectantly. Well, yes, in a few days, I'll make an appointment with him. Kyan Rinxu said with a smile. She didn't expect Hu Jiu to have such a great charm, but she was fascinated by her younger sister just by seeing it once. Really? Hearing this, Zuke's eyes burst into a scorching light. Well, really? Kyan Rinxu said with certainty. Not to mention, staying with Hu Jiu actually made her feel relaxed, mainly because Hu Jiu was not as cautious as others when facing her in front of her. Just like ordinary friends, they can say whatever they want, as if they are really good brothers. Thinking about it, Kyan Rinxu felt sweet in her heart, and she was looking forward to the next meeting. Seeing Zuke, who was blushing but bravely admitted. Kyan Rinxu felt a little sadness in her heart. It's not right. Thinking of this, Kyan Rinxu shook her head violently. Now is not the time to think about these messy things. She has to make that woman regret it. What are you thinking? When Kyan Rinxu returned to her bedroom absent-mindedly all the way, a majestic voice sounded in her ear. Who? Kyan Rinxu suddenly disappeared and immediately saw Bibi Dong, who suddenly appeared in front of her. Why? You? Why can't it be me? Bibi Dong asked rhetorically. Today's Bibi Dong is wearing a gorgeous purple robe and a purple gold phoenix crown on her head, looking noble and charming. What are you doing here? Seeing Bibi Dong, Kyan Rinxu suddenly broke down, and even the gentle smile that usually hung on her face disappeared. Instead, she felt a sense of exasperation. I Heard that Hu Jiu broke through to become a soul Douluo? Bibi Dong ignored Kyan Ringsu's anger, but began to ask back. Hey, outside the prince's mansion, Hu Jiu's expression changed. What does this mean? Could it be that Bibi Dong came to him? Don't you know everything? Why are you still asking me? Kyan Ringsu said angrily, feeling a little bad in her heart. Why did she ask this? Is it, in other words, this news is true? Bibi Dong's eyes lit up, and she looked at Kyan Ringsu thoughtfully. Kyan Ringsu looked at Bibi Dong silently. Although she didn't speak, her head was spinning rapidly. Hu Jiu was hers, and she didn't want to give it to the woman in front of her. I'll give you a task. Find a way to eat this. Before Kyan Ringsu could react, she heard Bibi Dong's order at the same time. A box appeared in Bibi Dong's hand, and handed it over. What is this? Kyan Ringsu didn't answer. She didn't need to think to know that this was not a good thing. Hu Jiu is a talent. It's a pity that it falls into your hands, and I have studied Hu Jiu's character. You can't control him. Bibi Dong said, this is the gift I prepared for him. As long as he eats it, he will be a member of our spirit hall in the future. After hesitating for a while, Kyan Ringsu took the box and opened it on the spot. This is Kyan's Yuan Xiao Soul Goo. Seeing the contents of the box for the first time, Kyan Ringsu's expression changed, and she immediately closed the box, as if she had seen something terrifying, despicable. Kyan Ringsu looked at Bibi Dong coldly. The disgust in her eyes was undisguised. Thousands of myriad soul gus are divided into mother worms and daughter worms. After entering the human body, they will merge with the soul of the middle goo. From then on, the will of the goo person will be controlled by the person who has the female worm, and it will be very domineering. Chapter 393 Ning Fengxi attacks. But now, Bibi Dong's meaning is self-evident. That is, he wants to trick Hu Jiu through Kyan Ringsu, so that he will become a dog in Bibi Dong's hands in the future. That's why Kyan Ringsu called Bibi Dong despicable. My dear, this is calculated on my head. Hu Jiu, who was hiding in the dark, clenched his fists and almost rushed out to clean up her fiercely. No need to say, this old man Qiu remembered. Wait for me. He had heard the name of Kyan Siwan and Goo, a goo worm, and Tang San became one of the top 10 vicious methods in the world, ranking third. Even a title Douluo can only be at the mercy of others after being guzzled. What? Do you know? To act as a man, you have to do whatever you can. What? Is it because you like that kid and can't do it? Bibi Dong's face showed a vicious light, and she shuddered when she saw it. In front of Kyan Ringsu, she did not hide her true nature at all. This vicious appearance was her true appearance. I didn't. Kyan Ringsu said with a stubborn neck, pretending to be strong, but her slightly trembling hand still sold her. Chat. It's fine if I don't. I thought my precious daughter has someone she likes, but don't worry, after controlling Hu Jiu, if you need it, I can let him accompany you. Kyan Ringsu's appearance, the corner of Bibi Dong's mouth twitched, and she said with great interest, no need. Kyan Ringsu almost clenched her teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't beat her, maybe her fists would have greeted this vicious face long ago. Hey, what does Kyan Ringsu mean? Something is wrong with her? Hu Jiu said thoughtfully, while touching her cheek point. Although he was a bit narcissistic, looking at Kyan Ringsu's current state, he had to make him think. After a while, Bibi Dong got up and left, leaving Kyan Ringsu alone holding Kyan's myriad soul goo in a daze. Just as Hu Jiu was about to leave, there was movement on Kyan Ringsu's side. Hey, it's actually a bath. Now, Hu Jiu's spirit has come. She has no other meaning. She just looks at Kyan Ringsu's real appearance. He couldn't believe it. Did she maintain the appearance of a man when she took a bath? Sure enough, in the bathroom, Kyan Ringsu stared blankly at the mirror for a while. Then a flash of light flashed, and her appearance changed drastically. The long black hair turned into a dazzling golden color, and under the reflection of the long golden hair, the snow white skin was exposed. On the face of a melon seed, Cherry's small mouth opened slightly, showing a distressed expression, obviously still worried about what Bibi Dong asked her to do. Straight nose bridge, slightly slender phoenix eyes, with a somewhat majestic face, elegant and indifferent, noble and majestic. Hu Jiu was stunned by this moment's appearance. The difference is too big. Originally, she looked a little handsome when she was disguised as Zuking, but let alone Hu Jiu, she was even worse than Oscar. Hu Jiu raised the idea of conquest. It's really beautiful. After Kyan Rinksu finished taking a shower, Hu Jiu left Pointy as a gentleman, and if he hadn't wanted to know what conspiracy Bibi Dong had, he wouldn't have come here in the middle of the night to take a peek. Pointy is a man of integrity. In a blink of an eye, a few days past point. Originally, Hu Jiu was waiting for Kyan Rinksu to attack him, but she didn't arrive for several days. Kyan Rinksu didn't come, but he waited for his future husband. Dad, why are you here? I miss you so much. The first time he saw Ning Fengzi, Ning Rangrang had a lovely smile on his face and ran over eagerly. Haha, why didn't I know that my good daughter thought about me? She's been back for so many days, she even forgot where her home is. Ning Fengzi showed a smile on the corner of his mouth, but he immediately put on an angry look. I won't go back. When I go back, you want me to learn those boring management knowledge, so I won't be fooled. Ning Rangrang stuck out his tongue and grimaced at him. Uncle, Ning is here. Please take a seat. At this moment, Hu Jiu just came out of the room. Yeah. Ning Fengzi nodded, as if he didn't see Hu Jiu's greeting. Point. Originally, Hu Jiu was quite happy to become Contra, but when he thought that his precious daughter was kidnapped by this guy, he was not happy. Point. On the contrary, Hu Jiu was not pleasing to the eye. Point. At first glance, this guy looks like a person who cares, not counting Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and finally his own daughter. God knows what happened between them after her daughter lived in Hu Jiu. For so many days looking at her daughter's wonderful eyes, Ning Fengzi felt that something was wrong the more she thought about it. Hu Jiu, don't you think you should do something? Ning Fengzi said coldly. Hu Jiu looked at Ning Fengzi, who was suddenly angry, with question marks all over his face, a little confused. Point. You don't seem to mess with him, do you? Dad, what are you talking about? Ning Rangrang asked nervously. HMPH, what else? You girl was kidnapped by someone for no reason. He didn't even give a word. You are really pissed off at me. Ning Fengzi said angrily. Point. Hu Jiu suddenly realized that it was this. Uncle Ning, please rest assured, this is simple. I will go to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School to propose a marriage tomorrow. Shouldn't it be a problem? Dad, what are you talking about? Brother Ninth and I are still so young. We have to wait until we are adults. Ning Rangrang lowered her head shyly. Point. In fact, Hu Jiu had already told her about this matter, and he also promised to give her a big gift at that time. Point. This gift was nothing else. It was Hu Jiu's 7th spirit ring, a spirit ability that could unconditionally evolve martial spirits to Ning Fengzi. This was a great gift. Point. Because of his martial spirit, his level has been stuck at level 79. And he hasn't broken through for decades. Obviously, the cultivation aptitude is very good, but because of the shortcomings of the martial arts, it cannot be improved. This feeling is simply maddening. Point. In other words, Ning Fengzi had a great heart, otherwise, he would have gone mad long ago. Point. Because he knew Hu Jiu's thoughts in advance. Of course Ning Rangrang also wanted to leave this opportunity to his father, but because this opportunity only came once a year, if it was arranged in order, it would be Zhu Zuking's turn. Point. The first person Hu Jiu wants is her. HMPH. Even if you don't get married, then you have to get engaged first. I can't let my precious daughter follow you without knowing it. Ning Fengzi said aggressively. Point. He also has no choice. Seeing that his daughter is like this, others don't care. Can he, the father, not care? What? Uncle said let's get engaged first. Hu Jiu said. That's right. Hearing Hu Jiu's answer, Ning Fengzi showed a smile on his face. Then it's decided. I'll arrange the engagement. You just need to attend when the time comes. The engagement of the daughter of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School must be done in a more solemn manner, and arrangements must be made in advance. Chapter 394. Rumors. The news of the engagement of the little princess of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School was quickly spread widely, and Chandao City, which was closer to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, was the first to get the news. When the various sects received the news, they hurriedly prepared gifts This was a good opportunity to make a good deal with the 7 treasure glazed tile school. It's just that they are very strange. Why is Ning Feng's his precious daughter suddenly getting engaged? With whom? Originally, some young heroes from big families had great ideas for this little fairy, Ning Rongrong, but no matter how they probed, they didn't know who was engaged to Ning Rongrong. However, gossip soon spread from Skydao City. It was said that the man who was engaged to Ning Rongrong didn't know that he was a woman, and Ning Rongrong was just one of them. It's so lively now. Who is Ning Rongrong? That is the daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect master, the future heir of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Listening to this, it seems that Ning Rongrong is doing something for others. The whole city was in an uproar. Now, everyone was more curious about who Ning Rongrong's man was. He was so good. He was not satisfied with Ning Rongrong, yet he dared to have another woman. Wasn't he afraid of Ning Fengzi going mad? In Hu Jiu's mansion. Ning Rongrong was getting angry. These people are really hateful. They dare to arrange this princess. They really need to be cleaned up. Hu Jiu sat next to her with a smile in her eyes. No one else is right. I'm indeed more than one woman, but I'm not a child. In my heart, you are all my little treasures. Saying that, Hu Jiu looked at Ning Rongrong, Zio Wu and Zhu Zuking with love. Ouch. Brother Ninth, you are so shameless, you are so thick-skinned. Ning Rongrong said disgustingly. Even Zio Wu and Zhu Zuking next to them turned their heads, and couldn't bear to look directly. Be thick-skinned, just be thick-skinned, I don't care. Hu Jiu said nonchalantly, but I have to check. Who is spreading rumors? I want to see who is so bold. Having said this, Hu Jiu's face turned cold. After all, he is usually quite low-key. How could anyone know how many women he has? Does this mean that he is being watched? Ninth. Brother, don't worry, I have already sent someone to investigate this matter, and if I dare to arrange this princess, I want him to walk away. Ning Rongrong said viciously. While everyone was chatting, Hu Meiya walked in from outside. Miss, I've checked it out. The news was originally obtained from the 4th Prince Zubeng. As soon as he finished speaking, the information in Hu Meiya's hands had already been snatched by Ning Rongrong. It turned out to be him. Hu Jiu nodded slightly when she heard Hu Meiya's words. If that's the case, it would make sense. He is now the eldest Prince Kan Rinxu's person. Zubeng wants to trouble him, and it makes sense. After all, Zubeng and Kan Rinxu are hostile. But it shouldn't be. Let the calculation fall on his head. Rongrong, how about leaving this matter to you? Hu Jiu said after a while. After all, he was also a worshipper of the Heaven Dao Empire, and he should have his own power in Heaven Dao City. And this kind of thing was even better for Ning Rongrong. After all, she was the heir of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, so it would be overkill for her to handle a little thing. Although Ning Rongrong is usually cute, it would be wrong to say that she is not smart. If she is not smart, then she is not a little witch from the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Okay, I'll clean him up. Ning Rongrong nodded fiercely. She has always been taking care of Hu Jiu's mansion. She has cultivated ginseng, and it is very simple to cultivate some soul masters. Catwoman Hu Meiya is the leader who controls this group of soul masters. Master, the first prince has come down. At this time, a maid hurried in outside. There were quite a few maids and guards in his mansion, all of which were arranged by Kan Rinxu. Please, come in. Hu Jiu waved his hand and said. The title of the first prince was of little use to him. Of course, in front of him, Kan Rinxu would not care about that. Yes. The maid saluted calmly and then stepped back. This scene is not the first time. When the eldest prince came to Hu Jiu, he had never personally welcomed him. Finally, I want to see what you think. Hu Jiu secretly guessed that this was also a test for Kan Rinxu. If Kan Rinxu really listened to Bibi Dong's words and wanted to give him 1,000 threads of 10,000 souls, then don't blame him for being rude. After a while, Kan Rinxu strode out from the door wearing Zuking's face. Haha, brother Hu, brother Zhu is here to see you. Kan Rinxu said enthusiastically. But brother Zhu rarely comes to me once. Please take a seat. Hu Jiu greeted. Hey, I've been really busy during this time, and brother Hu didn't come to help my brother. Kan Rinxu pretended to blame. It's Not like Big Brother Zhu doesn't know. I'm not interested in these things. It's good to be at home. Hu Jiu had a leisurely face and was accompanied by beautiful women every day. You don't know. If you don't come, Zook has come to my place several times, asking you every time. Looking at Hu Jiu's handsome face, Kan Ringsu said teasingly, Zook. Hu Jiu's face stiffened, and Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking, and Ning Rangrang also looked at Hu Jiu curiously. Could it be that this flowery radish is provoking other girls again? Thinking of this, their eyes sharpened. Yeah, Sister Zook seems to like you very much, brother. Can you tell me if you can? My sister is a beautiful woman. It's hard for many people to meet, so don't let her down. Kan Ringsu, as if he hadn't seen Xiao Wu's eyes look strange, he said carelessly, brother Zhu, please don't hurt me. Princess Zook and I have only met once. How could she like me? Hu Jiu was sweating coldly at the eyes of Xiao Wu and the others. Besides, I already have a beloved. You're dead. Be careful, Rangrang will take care of you. HMPH. Brother King, are you helping ninth brother find a woman? Who is Zook? Ning Rangrang asked through gritted teeth. Ning Feng's he was Kan Ringsu's teacher. Naturally, Ning Rangrang had met her, and they had a pretty good relationship. Haha, Sister Rangrang, I heard that you and Hu Jiu are getting engaged. Congratulations. Kan Ringsu laughed. Kan Ringsu is really busy. I heard that Emperor Zuyi's condition has started to worsen during this period of time, and many things need to be handled by Kan Ringsu, the fake eldest prince. So, after sitting here for a while, Hu Jiu left. What's the matter? Did Kan Ringsu really give up? After Kan Ringsu left, Hu Jiu fell into deep thought. Looking at Kan Ringsu's appearance today, it seemed that she was really just here to communicate with him. She just chatted for a while without doing anything. No, I have to see what she thinks. Hu Jiu suddenly became curious about Kan Ringsu and decided to go to Kan Ringsu's mansion tonight to observe. Chapter 395 Kan Renxue and -039 S rejection. Night. The first prince's mansion. Why don't you give Hu Jiu a poke? Bibi Dong looked at Kan Ringsu with indifferent eyes and didn't see any movement from her. Kan Ringsu, who was standing opposite her, seemed to have been hit by an invisible force, and she couldn't help but bow. She stood up, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. Do you really like him? Cough. It has nothing to do with liking. Hu Jiu is my person. I will not let you hurt him. Kan Ringsu said stubbornly. Hurt? I'm doing it for your own good. If you don't have thousand silk myriad soul goo, you can't control him. Bibi Dong said sharply. Even if you can't control it, it's none of your business. Kan Ringsu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and her expression actually calmed down at this moment. HMPH, you'll definitely regret your decision today. Bibi Dong said angrily when she saw Kan Ringsu's incompetence. Kan Ringsu did not speak, but at this moment, she felt that Bibi Dong was a bit like a clown. Such an excellent talent actually only wants to use insidious methods to control it. Is this the pattern of His Excellency the Pope? Based on her current friendship with Hu Jiu, she can be sure that, even if her identity is revealed, and she falls out with the Xiandao royal family, I'm afraid that Hu Jiu will be on her side. She has this confidence. TSK. What a vicious mother-in-law. Outside the first prince's mansion, Hu Jiu hid in the dark and kept an eye on the situation here. I thought that there would be no receipt of goods today, but unexpectedly, I happened to meet Bibi Dong. This time, he confirmed Kan Ringsu's thoughts, seeing that she would rather be beaten than follow Bibi Dong's orders. Hu Jiu was suddenly moved. Such a good woman deserves something from him. But you have to wait. If she becomes her own person, she can let her know some of her secrets. Even if she becomes a god in advance, it is not impossible. In the next few days, Hu Jiu lived a life undisturbed. On the contrary, the news of the engagement of the next suzerain of the 7 treasure glazed tile school became more and more intense. Generally speaking, as Ning Rangrang, her future husband, would be married. Otherwise, wouldn't it be equivalent to handing over her family business to someone else? But now it is not so. It seems that the 7 treasure glazed tile school is going to marry off its daughter. This time, everyone is more interested. Hu Jiu had a better life But Zhu Beng, the fourth prince who caused them trouble, was very sad. Under Ning Rangrang's arrangement, some of the mischief done by the fourth prince was used to spread in Skydao City, and even made up a storyline. Said in a similar way. In this way, the notoriety of Zhu Beng was well known. First of all, of course, no one knows if he has done any of these things anyway. Ning Rangrang just used his own way to pay him back. Of course, this is not over yet. Ning Rangrang exerts his strength, and Qian Ringsu is not idle either. Taking advantage of the rumors, he uses his power to suppress Zhu Beng and punish him not to leave the house for a year. To stay in the reflect on your sins at home. Originally, his uncle, Prince Zhu Crossing, wanted to keep him, but Qian Ringsu was not a vegetarian, so he took the opportunity to pull him into the water and almost trapped him in it. It was only at this time that Hu Jiu released the bad anger in his heart. If the matter was not resolved, he decided to do it himself. He can't do anything else, but he's pretty good at knocking people sap. On this day, Hu Jiu was counting his gains during this period. Pink spiritual skull, in 41,105. It increases the spiritual power, and comes with a spiritual shock soul skill. Illusory space left arm bone. 80,000 years old, with an illusionary space, you can use mental power to arrange illusions. Petrified mammoth right arm bone. 70,000 years old, petrified mammoth, increased strength, with petrified ray soul skill. Fast forward left leg bone, in 28,000, the speed was greatly increased. At the same time, the left leg condensed the soul power, and turned it into a sharp blade. While moving close to the opponent at a high speed, it used the left leg to perform multiple chain slashes on multiple enemies. Feng Mo right leg bone. 14,000 years old, with the power to control the wind, it can control the power of the wind. Golem's torso bone. 13,000 years, reduce attack damage by 13%, in the blink of an eye. More than a year had passed since the Spirit Master competition, and Hu Jiu 6 spirit bones had greatly improved an age. Among them, the left arm bone of the illusory dimension with the highest age is actually 80,000 years old. And in more than a year, it will become a 100,000-year-old spirit bone. And Feng Mo's right leg bone. After evolving into a 10,000-year spirit bone, Hu Jiu's ability to control the power of the wind has greatly increased, like a simple wind blade or something that can already be used at will. Not only that, this spirit bone can finally drag him to fly. Although the speed is not very fast, it is similar to the speed of running on the ground, but it will not be difficult for him to fight in the air in the future. You must know that in Douluo continent, wanting to fly is not so simple, unless you have a flying spirit, or you can only obtain this ability from spirit bones. Apart from these two, if you want to fly, you have to become a title Douluo. Only title Douluo can fly out of thin air, of course. What Hu Jiu values most is the golem's torso bone. This spirit bone can actually reduce attack damage, especially after its age is increased to 13,000 years. It can reduce the attack by 13%. Harm. If the age of this spirit bone is increased to 10,000 years, wouldn't it be possible to reduce the attack damage by 100%, based on this alone? This soul bone can already be called a divine product. Of course, reducing damage by 100% does not mean invincibility. After all, many attack type spirit masters' spirit abilities have a blessing effect. For example, to increase the attack ability by 100%. If you encounter this kind of soul skill, at most the two effects will cancel each other, and the normal damage that should be received is not less. Even so, this spirit bone was ranked first among Hu Jiu's whole body spirit bones. Next is the spirit ring. First, soul ring, year 41,100. Soul skill absorption, up to 41 times the cultivation speed can be increased. Second soul ring, year 40,560. Soul skill change, change someone else's martial soul, or directly become a soul beast. The third spirit ring, 41,105 years. Soul skill teleport, when you have coordinates, the teleport distance depends on your soul power. Fourth soul ring, year 40,165. Holy light restoration, dispels the negative state of the body, restores stamina, and heals injuries. Fifth soul ring, year 43,575. Rage, increases all attributes by 13%. It lasts for half an hour and can be perfectly stacked with other auxiliary effects. The 6th spirit ring. 25,560 years. Entity clone. It can differentiate an entity clone, has independent thinking, and can use martial arts and soul skills. 7th soul ring. Year 91,000. Martial soul avatar. You can let martial soul evolve once without any side effects, with a 1-year cooldown. 8th soul ring. 64,300 years. Dark demon evil thunder bomb. Combines the power of the 3 mixed attributes of wind, thunder, and evil to produce a strong range explosion effect. Chapter 396 News of SHREK and -039 S9 monsters. The 1st spirit ring, that Hu Jiu had always regarded as the foundation, could increase his cultivation speed by a maximum of 43 times. 1 day of cultivation is worth more than a month of cultivation by others. 10 days of cultivation can be worth a year for others. Therefore, after Hu Jiu's strength reached contract, not only did the speed of level increase not slow down, but instead accelerated. It is also that Hu Jiu Genji is too far behind. Each level of promotion requires more soul power than others. Otherwise, I'm afraid that it will only take a few days to improve to 1 level. But this is not without advantages. The first is the amount of soul power. Not to mention in the same level, even if he surpasses a large level, compared with title Douluo, his soul power is more than others. In addition to the advantage of strong soul power, there is also the degree of pure soul power. The soul power in Hu Jiu's body has been compressed many times. If the soul power of other soul masters is compared to an egg, then his soul power is a stone. The egg hits the stone, and the result is predictable. He said boldly, if it was just a competition of soul power, Hu Jiu would dare to be the second in Douluo continent, and no one would dare to be the first. It is worth mentioning that the 5th spirit ring rage has also been greatly improved, and now it can increase all attributes by 13%. That is to say, as long as you eat violent ginseng, even a titled Douluo can more than double his strength. Of course, the stronger the strength, the shorter the blessing time. Take the 97th level sword Douluo as an example. Hu Jiu's violent ginseng can only maintain the consumption of 1 soul skill with him, and after 1 move, it will have no effect. After the strength reaches the title Douluo, especially the level of 95 or above, so the strength difference of each level will vary greatly. For example, a 96th level titled Douluo is 20% stronger in spirit power than a 95th level titled Douluo. And the 97th level titled Douluo spirit power 20% stronger than a 96th level title Douluo. In this way, Hu Jiu's violent ginseng is too domineering. After blessing, it is equivalent to increasing the level by several levels. This was also the purpose of Sword Douluo licking his face and begging him for violent ginseng. Because after taking violent ginseng, Sword Douluo's strength can briefly reach level 99th. After reaching the 95th level, each level up is not a simple accumulation of soul power but comprehension. And because everyone's martial arts are different, so what needs to be understood is different. No one's experience can help others to improve. It is not uncommon for some people to have their soul power level stuck there, and it is not uncommon for them to be unable to break through in their entire lives in this way. For title Douluo, the spirit abilities that can temporarily improve their strength are themselves the most precious treasures. Otherwise, with Sword Douluo's temperament, there wouldn't be such a big difference. During the time he returned to Skydao City, he often came to Hu Jiu to fight the autumn wind. In the training ground, Hu Jiu was cultivating the domineering soul skill, and every move was full of domineering power. After cultivating domineering physique, Hu Jiu's muscles were knotted all over his body, and with a sunny and handsome face, a domineering aura emanated from him, like a warrior on the battlefield. Zhao, Jiu, Oscar and Mahanjan replied. They said, before you and Ran get engaged, you must come back. Xiao Wu jumped over and ran over to Hu Jiu and said, oh, it's still fun for them. If they don't even come to my engagement, let's see how I clean them up in the future. Hu Jiu smiled. Since Oscar and Mahanjan went out to travel, Hu Jiu has rarely heard from them. As for where the two are now, even he doesn't know. They dare not come back. Xiao Wu clenched her fist and waved it twice, revealing two cute little tiger teeth. By the way, do you know what level they are now? These two guys have been out for more than a year, and I don't know how to come back and have a look. Hu Jiu asked. I don't know. Don't worry, we'll find out when they come back anyway. Xiao Wu waved her little hand. Anyway, if their level can't satisfy me, I'll let them know how powerful Sister Xiao Wu is. As their eldest sister, she didn't want them to embarrass herself at that time. By the way, my sister still will be here in a few days. She said she will stay at our house for a few days. Xiao Wu said happily. Oh, Meng still, let her come. Meng still is not far from Shandao City. Over the past year, he has occasionally come to play with them. However, it wasn't long before they returned to Skydao City, so they hadn't seen each other a few times. That is to say, apart from Xiaosan and Boss Day, all of us Shrek's 9 monsters have arrived. Hu Jiu said, while rubbing his chin. Well, Xiaosan went to the Slaughter City, and he doesn't know when he will be able to come back, and there has been no news from Boss Day, and he doesn't know what's going on now. Xiao Wu said, Little San doesn't care about him first. With his strength, it's no problem if he wants to break out of the slaughter. A joke. With Tang Heo's protection, even the King of Slaughter wouldn't dare to play tricks on him, and with Tang San's strength, it's not difficult to cross the road to hell. It's Boss Day. I'm engaged to Rangrong, and we should let him know about it, so that he won't complain about us later. Hu Jiu thought for a while and said, forget it, I'll take a trip in person and take a look. What's going on with him? He and Ning Rangrong got engaged next month, and at his speed, it would not take long for him to go to the Star Luo Empire. Okay, I'm going to. Xiao Wu said happily. Hu Jiu shook his head. I'll go alone this time. I'll go early and come back early. I'll bring Boss Day back by the way. If you want to go, I'll take you there after the engagement is complete. Alright. Then. Xiao Wu did not refuse. When Hu Jiu said this, I feel wronged for you and Zuking. I did this with me, and I didn't get you engaged. Hu Jiu sighed. In fact, if it wasn't for Ning Fengxi himself, Hu Jiu didn't plan to hold an engagement ceremony. To him, these things were all vain. With this time, it would be better to spend more time with Xiao Wu and the others. It's okay, I don't want to get engaged to you. We can just get married in the future, but let's talk about it first. I'm the boss. Xiao Wu smiled. In terms of age, among the three of them, Xiao Wu was indeed the oldest, followed by Ning Rangrong and Zhu Zuking the youngest. Okay, after we get engaged, we'll wait for Xiaosan to come out of the Slaughter City, and then go to Seagard Island. After we get out of Seagard Island, we'll get married. Hu Jiu hugged Xiao Wu and said softly. Seagard Island was an important part of his plan. With his strength, if he crossed Seagard Island, he would be a titled Douluo. At that time, it was a success for him. Chapter 397. Goodbye Dame Yubei. On the broad avenue, Hu Jiu was indulgently galloping, and he saw his figure like a phantom. People on the avenue often didn't see what was going on, and Hu Jiu had already disappeared in stride. Looking at the direction he was heading, it was officially the Star Luo Empire. On this journey, he has exhausted all means of rushing. If you have enough soul power, you can use teleportation to hurry. When the soul power is exhausted, run with both feet. With his physical fitness, he won't get tired, even after running for days and nights in a row. Hu Jiu had been on the road for 5 consecutive days, starting from the Heaven Dao Empire. Now, I finally came to the border of the two empires, and here, it is just close to the Holy Soul Village. Because the engagement to Ning Rangrong was imminent, Hu Jiu's father, mother, and grandfather Old Jack also left the Holy Spirit Village, where they had been living. With Kyan Rinx's help, they found some soldiers to escort them to Heaven Dao City. After all, the Holy Spirit Village was too remote, and it was inconvenient to go back and forth, so Hu Jiu took this opportunity to bring them to live in Heaven Dao City. Based on their itinerary, it is estimated that they will reach Heaven Dao City in a few days. So, even if he returned to the Holy Spirit Village, Hu Jiu would not see any relatives besides. The main purpose of this trip was to find Dame Yubei and take him back to participate in his engagement. Without passing through the Holy Spirit Village, Hu Jiu directly crossed the border between the two countries and stepped into the Star Luo Empire point in recent decades. Although there have been frictions between the two countries, they are both within their control, each developing itself, and there is no idea of war entering the Star Luo Empire. Hu Jiu found that it was no different from the Heaven Dao Empire point, including clothing and customs are the same. 5 days later Hu Jiu had already arrived at the imperial city of the Star Luo Empire. This city was the most prosperous place in the Star Luo Empire. Compared with the Heaven Dao city of the Heaven Dao Empire, it was even more heroic and domineering. The city wall, which is more than 80 meters high, is at least 10 meters thick. Soldiers coming and going are patrolling the wide city wall. Hey, it's finally here. I wonder if Liu Bei will be surprised when he sees me. Hu Jiu had an idea and decided to scare him. Liu Bei was the prince, and his mansion was naturally inside the palace. However, this is not difficult for him. With his perception ability, it is very simple to sneak into an imperial city. Star Luo Imperial Palace. Liu Bei lay casually on a wide chair, holding a beautiful woman in his arms. A subordinate stood in front of him respectfully, reporting the news to him. His Royal Highness the Third Prince, there is news from the Heaven Dao Empire that the little princess of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect master is about to hold an engagement ceremony. Shall we send some gifts? What? Rong is about to get engaged. Liu Bei stood up abruptly, with a happy expression on his face. Although the intelligence did not say who was engaged to Ning Rong, he was certain that this person must be Hu Jiu. Hu Jiu and Ning Rong were engaged. How could he not go? Quick, go and prepare a congratulatory gift for me. No, I will prepare it myself. Liu Bei hurriedly said to his subordinates. Hahaha, you are a good boy, and you know how to prepare gifts for me. Since this is the case, then I will not clean you up. Suddenly, Hu Jiu's voice sounded beside Liu Bei. Assassin, come here. Someone is trying to assassinate the third prince. Liu Bei's subordinate was startled by the sudden voice and immediately shouted loudly. While shouting, he rushed towards Liu Bei. Retreat. There are no assassins. This is my friend. Liu Bei scolded, then looked at the direction the voice came from with a look of joy. Haha, not bad. The prince is just different, and he has such a loyal subordinate to protect. Hu Jiu joked with a smile. Ninth. Brother, it's really you. Why are you here? Liu Bei quickly stepped forward and gave Hu Jiu a bear hug. Haha, why can't I come here, you kid? After coming back here, I haven't heard from you for more than a year. If I didn't know that you still have some skills, I would have thought you were dead. Hu Jiu said angrily. Ninth brother, don't you know that this year, my life has been really hard? I know now that this prince is not good. It's not as good as our days in the academy. Liu Bei, after waving his hand to let the people back down, he said with a bitter face. Yo, isn't the position of the crown prince quite majestic? Why are you still unwilling? Hu Jiu said playfully, scoffing at the crown prince position of Liu Bei. Douluo continent, after all, is still a world where force is supreme and the role of status is not so obvious at most. If you have money, you can get some rare treasures, but if you have the strength, these things are readily available. Just like Hu Jiu himself, what he wants, naturally, someone will rush to deliver it to the door, not to mention that there is someone like Ning Fengzi who is speculative, sending his daughter in disguise. When he came to Liu Bei's territory, of course Liu Bei would not treat him badly. Anything delicious, let him try it all. After his explanation, Hu Jiu also knew what situation Liu Bei had been in over the past year. After returning from the Heaven Dao Empire, Liu Bei began to forcefully suppress Davis, using his strength to gain many supporters of the Star Luo Empire. Compared to the Heaven Dao Empire, the Star Luo Empire values force more. And Liu Bei was already a soul saint at that time, completely crushing Davis in terms of strength. Seeing this, Liu Bei's father made a decisive decision and started the battle between the heirs to the throne in advance. Without a doubt, Daemube swept the audience and won the final victory point. From that time on, Daemube's father began to train Daemube with all his strength and even gave Daemube 3 pieces of spirit bones inherited from the royal family. These 3 spirit bones were not the 1,000 or 10,000 year old junk spirit bones in Hu Jiu's hands. The most precious is a 100,000 year old torso bone. You must know that among the 6 major spirit bones, the torso bone is the most difficult to obtain. If it were not for the long-standing inheritance of the White Tiger family, he would not have obtained this spirit bone. In addition to the trunk bone, the remaining 2 are the head soul bone and the left arm bone. With the blessing of 3 spirit bones, Daemube's strength has been improved by leaps and bounds. In just 1 year, his level has reached level 65. This was improved without the participation of Hu Jiu's cultivators with the strength of his soul emperor. Raising 5 ranks in 1 year is enough to prove his talent. It was a pity that Hu Jiu was a little dissatisfied with this. Without the blessing of 300,000 year spirit bones, Daemube would have been promoted by 2 levels this year for Hu Jiu. This kind of speed is simply shameless. After being despised by Hu Jiu, Daemube took advantage of the wine to go wild. Damn it, this prince is not in the right place. Whoever cares about it should go. 9th. Brother, I will follow you in the future. Okay. Chapter 398. 8 monsters gather. A good emperor is not right. Why do you follow me? Hearing that Daemube wanted to follow him, Hu Jiu was almost dumbfounded. You must know that, based on Daemube's current achievements, after his father abdicates in the future, it is a proper matter for Daemube to become emperor. But I didn't expect this kid to be unwilling to be. 9th. Brother, I want to practice with you. What is the throne? When I cultivate to the title Douluo, if I want to be the emperor, it is not an easy matter. What's more, after this period of training, I found that being an emperor is really not suitable for me. How can a lazy person like me endure this lonely palace? Daemube said drunkenly. At the end, he also grabbed the jug and shoved the can into his mouth. Good guy, I have to say, your decision makes me appreciate you a little bit. Hu Jiu raised his brows and patted him on the shoulder. From Hu Jiu's point of view, Daemube made a correct choice at this time. Following him, there must be a sufficient supply of cultivation ginseng. In this way, let alone the title Douluo, it is not difficult to become a god. Originally, Hu Jiu also thought about raising Daemube and Tang San into gods. After all, he himself will definitely become a god in the future, but the god realm is not as peaceful as he imagined. If they can have the help of a few good brothers at this time, even if they reach the realm of the gods, they can be separated. And he has a plug-in. As long as he is given enough time, even the king of gods is no big deal. Thinking about it like this, Daemube made a lot of money. His decision simply gave him the assurance of becoming a god. Haha, brother 9th, I'll depend on you from now on. Daemube's eyes lit up, and he said solemnly to Hu Jiu, no problem, don't worry, follow me, I won't treat you badly. Hu Jiu assured. Daemube was impatient, and he left as soon as he said it. Early the next morning, after collecting some engagement gifts for Hu Jiu in the palace, he left a letter and ran away with Hu Jiu lifelessly. In the letter, he said that the world is too big and he wanted to see it. As for the position of the prince, he would not want it. If there is no heir, he can give this position to his brother, Davis, because of his scruples of family affection. After he became the heir to the throne, Daemube didn't do anything to Davis, but only deprived him of the power in his hands. So, now that he's gone, Davis can be replaced as the heir to the throne. No matter how furious his emperor father would be after Daemube left, he was now being teleported away by Hu Jiu. It has been 10 days since Hu Jiu came out this time, plus the journey back, it will take at least 10 days all in all. It was just too late to attend the engagement ceremony. When I went back. Along the way, Hu Jiu and Daemube traveled fast, day and night, and finally returned to Heavendale City 3 days before the engagement ceremony. As soon as she brought Daemube back to her mansion, Hu Jiu discovered the lively scene inside. Oscar's exaggerated laughter and Ma Hangjin's flattery sounded so cordial. Hu Jiu and Daemube looked at each other the same. with happy smiles on their faces immediately strode towards the direction from which the sound came. Haha, fatty, Zio, you guys are finally back. Amid Hu Jiu's loud laughter, the figures of him and Amube appeared in front of everyone. Haha, brother ninth, boss day, long time no see. Hearing the familiar voice, Mahanjan and Oscar hurried to them, each giving a bear hug point. When the good brothers meet, it is naturally a lot of fun. Point today, at Hu Jiu's mansion, 8 of Shrek's 9 monsters have gathered. Point Hu Jiu, Zio Wu, Zhu Zuking, Ning Rangrong, Oscar, Mahanjan, Damube, Mengye and point only one Tang San needed to gather. It's a pity. If only the third brother was there. Mahanjan shouted. I asked Uncle Heo a few days ago, and he said that Zia's inside is going well, and it won't take long to come out. Zio Wu said with a smile. Oh. Hu Jiu raised his brows. He didn't expect Tang San's progress to be so fast. Point it seems that the plan to go to Seagate Island is ahead of schedule. Point. After everyone got acquainted, Hu Jiu also knew everyone's current level. Point Hu Jiu, Wuhan Ginseng, level 83 food type Soul Douluo. Point Zio Wu, Martial Soul Softbone Rabbit, level 71 Agility Attack type Soul Saint. Point Damube, Martial Soul White Tiger, rank 65 attack type Soul Emperor. Zhu Zuking, the Martial Soul Ghost Cat, the 62 agility attack type Soul Emperor Ning Rangrong, the 9 treasure glazed tile Pagoda of Wuhan, the 61 auxiliary Soul King. Point Mahanjan, Martial Spirit Phoenix, the 55th level Storm type Battle Spirit King. Point Oscar, Martial Soul Sausage, level 54 food type auxiliary Soul King. Point Mengye, Martial Soul Dragon Staff, level 55 Storm King. In other words, in the past year or so, the two of you have only improved by 2 levels? Hu Jiu looked at Oscar and Mahanjan with hatred. Point in one sentence, the two of them lowered their heads. Look, your talent is still lower than yours, but they have improved by 3 levels in a year. You two are not just looking for a woman, right? Zio Wu rubbed her wrists, and also had the urge to hammer people. Ninth brother, we were wrong. Oscar and Mahanjan bowed their heads and said, haha, I'm not interested in how many levels you have improved, so I'll just ask, have you found the woman you two are looking for? Hu Jiu's eyes flashed, and he looked at the two of them with bright eyes. Come on, you can't find them just by looking at them. Damube said with contempt. Humph, since that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Zio Wu, let them rest for a good night today, raise their spirits, and teach them a profound lesson tomorrow. Hu Jiu waved his hand, and made a decision. No, ninth brother. Hearing this, Mahanjan screamed on the spot. Ninth brother, we were wrong, we shouldn't be playful, we won't dare again next time. Oscar also hurriedly begged for mercy. It's useless to tell me, go find your little sister. Hu Jiu's mouth twitched, and then he said with a stern face. Point for Mahanjan and Oscar, Hu Jiu didn't actually blame them. Point after all, he is also playful, and the reason why Zio Wu taught them a lesson was just to let them remember who is the boss here. Point haven't seen each other for so long. What if they float away? The Shrek 8 monsters gathered, and the next thing was to get engaged to Ning Rangrong. Point from the second day onwards, everyone was busy. Point the engagement ceremony of Hu Jiu and Ning Rangrong was held in his mansion. Point after all, Hu Jiu was the man, and he didn't stop at the door. Although it was an engagement, it was the daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile school after all. In order to prevent her from being wronged, Ning Fengzi made a lot of money. Not only did he personally preside over the engagement ceremony, but he also borne all the expenses. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399. On the day the engagement began, Hu Jiu's mansion was very lively. Point. When the invitation was sent out, everyone knew that it was Hu Jiu who was engaged to Ning Rangrong. Point and Hu Jiu's reputation also spread, especially his strength. with the excavation of everyone, and the 7 treasure glazed tile school, and the first prince quietly revealed that the youngest food type sold Douluo in history was placed in on Hu Jiu's head. The reason why it is not the only food type sold Douluo in Douluo continent is because the tree is big and attracts the wind, and it is not necessary. But if it is said to be the youngest food type sold Douluo in history, I'm afraid no one will object. After all, at Hu Jiu's age, being able to possess the strength of Soul Douluo is already extremely evil. In this way, no one said that Hu Jiu climbed high, but felt that the 7 treasure glazed tile school had found a treasure. Shandao City, the entrance of Hu Jiu's mansion. Hu Jiu was dressed in a handsome dress, surrounded by Daimyo Bei, Oscar and Mahangjin. On the opposite side were Ning Rangrang, who was dressed like a fairy, Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking, and Meng Yanan. A group of people stood in 2 rows, welcoming the guests who came to celebrate. Shrek, Academy Dean Flender, Deputy Dean Xiao Wuji, and Deputy Dean Liu Erlang are here. The attendant at the door sang loudly, "Haha, good boy, this battle is quite big." Xiao Waoqi's loud voice came, and he seemed extremely happy. "Teacher, Dean, please come inside." Hu Jiu had a gentle smile on his face. "Haha, it's quite lively." Liu Erlang looked at Hu Jiu with a smile. She should have been extremely angry. After all, Xiao Wu was her goddaughter, but now Ning Rangrang was indeed engaged. If it wasn't for Ning Rangrang, she would have ridiculed her. Hu Jiu also knew what Liu Erlang was thinking, with an embarrassed smile on his face. That's the price to pay for it. "Godmother, come in quickly, there are guests at the back. You go in first, Uncle Ning is waiting for you inside." Xiao Wu pulled Liu Erlang amusingly. The engagement was just a formality, whether it was Xiao Wu or Zhu's Yuking, including Ning Rangrang herself. They didn't take it seriously. Of course, this was also influenced by Hu Jiu. If it wasn't for Ning Feng's request, Hu Jiu would never have thought about it. However, the 7 treasure glazed tile sect has a great business, and some of the rules are cumbersome and understandable. Titan, the patriarch of the power clan, brought Tano and Taelang too, followed by the royal family, the Minci family, and the breaking family. The eldest Prince Kan Ringsu, as well as the forces large and small, have all come under the auspices of Ning Fengzi and Hu Jiu, and the blessings of everyone. Hu Jiu and Ning Rangrang completed their engagement the next day. In the training ground of Hu Jiu's mansion. Xiao Wu rubbed her fists excitedly and looked at Mahangjin and Oscar opposite. "Fatty Xiao, let's do it. Let me check the results of your travels." Hearing this, the aura of Oscar and Mahangjin changed in an instant, with sharp eyes and murderous aura condensed in their eyes. "Sister Wu, don't underestimate us. This year, we have not gained nothing." Oscar had a gloomy smile on his face. Like that, he looked like a ruthless villain. "Haha, Miss Wu, I'll let you see the price of underestimating us." Mahangjin had her arrogant face, with a big belly, and his eyes were full of arrogance. "Well, the momentum is good. It would be nice if it could be stronger." Xiao Wu nodded in satisfaction, very satisfied with their momentum. "Hey, Sister Wu, it's not that we don't want to, but that we simply can't do it. We haven't practiced this trick of coercion yet, and we can only do it at this level at the moment." Oscar's face collapsed, his face gloomy and cold. The expression disappeared and instantly restored to a funny ratio. Yes, we have been in contact for a long time to achieve this momentum, but if we want to maintain this atmosphere, we still need soul power." Mahangjin grinned, with a flattering expression on his face. "So, funny or funny, no matter how you pretend, it is useless." Hu Jiu, Daimyo Bei, Zhu's Yuking and the others who were watching the battle were speechless, not daring to look directly at their current state. "Stop talking nonsense. Are you ready?" Xiao Wu waved and asked. "Miss Wu, just take a look." In an instant, Oscar summoned the spirit sausage and made all the blessing sausages he could make. Added colorful unicorn sausages with all attributes, quick sausages with increased speed, and sausages with increased soul power limit. After throwing the sausage to Mahangjin, Oscar's figure flashed again and again, shrunk into a ball, lying on Mahangjin's broad back, like a combination of wolf and embarrassment. It can be called a treachery point at the same time. Mahanjan took the sausage and stuffed it into his mouth without chewing it. In an instant, Mahanjan completed the possession of the phoenix, and flames rose from his body, wrapping him and Oscar together. Phoenix. In the fire, the phoenix flame is increased by 30% when it is turned on. Ha, Miss Wu, look at the trick, Ma. Hanjin opened his mouth wide, and a fan-shaped flame ray shot up into the sky, covering Xiao Wu. Be careful, Xiao. Wu didn't even activate her martial spirit, just a little on her toes. Her body had already avoided Mahanjan's phoenix line of fire, and when she reappeared, she had already appeared behind Mahanjan. Mahanjan didn't do it in vain. He didn't turn his head back, and his body jumped forward, but it was precisely during this step that he just avoided Xiao Wu's attack. The phantom of the phoenix behind him quickly flapped his bright and blind wings, and Mahanjan rushed to the sky and stayed in the air. The fourth soul skill, the phoenix roaring to the sky. Mahanjan let out a phoenix whistle, and the ground beneath Xiao Wu instantly turned into boiling lava, rising into the sky, shrouding Xiao Wu's figure, head, the invincible golden body. Facing Mahanjan's phoenix roaring to the sky, Xiao Wu didn't even move. A layer of dazzling golden light burst out from her body, isolating the magma from her body, without causing any harm to her. Don't think you'll be fine. If you can fly, just die. Xiao Wu smiled lightly, kicked her feet, her figure flickered, rose into the sky, and appeared in front of Mahanjan. With one kick, with a bang, Mahanjan and Oscar smashed to the ground together, sending smoke and dust everywhere. It wasn't over yet. Xiao Wu's figure jumped, and her body fell after her. She bent down and vigorously, holding one in each hand, smashed the two of them around like toys. Bang bang bang. For a while, everyone watching the battle was terrified of the cold, and looked at Mahanjan and Oscar, who were being cleaned up with pitiful eyes. Boss Day, I haven't seen you do it for a long time, and I don't know how your skills are. Do you want to try it? Hu Jiu urged Dame Yubei with a smile. No, I'm still not going. Xiao Wu has become a soul saint. She is agile attack type, I'm a strong attack type, and his attributes are just restrained by him. It's boring to fight. Dame Yubei shook his head repeatedly, not answering at all. Trick. Chapter 400, 100,000 Years Spirit Ring. Dame Yubei wasn't a fool. He knew that he couldn't beat him. He knows how powerful Xiao Wu is. Even if he is at the same level as him, he can't beat Xiao Wu. Not to mention that Xiao Wu has now become a soul saint, and his level is higher than him by a big realm, so he will fight even more. But sheer's time is like water. Time is like a shuttle. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During this time, Dame Yubei, Oscar, and Mahanjan had also stayed in Heavendale City, running to Hu Jiu's house every day. With the help of the cultivation ginseng provided by Hu Jiu, everyone's strength improved very quickly. Hu Jiu, Wuhan ginseng, level 86 food type soul Douluo. Xiao Wu, martial soul soft bone rabbit, level 74 agility attack type soul saint. Dame Yubei, martial soul white tiger, 68th level storm type soul emperor Zhu Zuking, the spirit cat of the Netherworld, the 65th level agility attack type soul emperor Ningrangrong, martial spirit 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda, level 64 auxiliary spirit emperor Mahanjan, martial spirit phoenix, the 58th level storm type. Battle Spirit King. Oscar, martial soul sausage, level 57 food type auxiliary soul king. In half a year, the level of each of them has increased by at least 3 levels. There are also several Shrek teachers who have also been exposed to the light, and their strength has changed significantly. Zao Wauki, martial spirit powerful King Kong bear, 84th level Contra. Flender Wuhanao, 84th level soul Douluo. Liu Erlong, martial soul fire dragon, 83 level soul Douluo. Because of the hang up, Hu Jiu's strength has always improved faster than everyone else. So far, he has surpassed his teachers Ao Wauki and Dean Flender. Good boy, worthy of being my disciple. This time is really a blueprint. Not only did Zhao not feel disappointed, on the contrary, his mouth cracked with joy. In this world, everyone can only worship one person as a teacher, and because of his good eyesight, Zhao became Hu Jiu's unique teacher. No matter what Hu Jiu has achieved in the future, he will be credited as a teacher. Although this is a bit shameless, it is also true. HMPH, you're just shy. But you're so proud of yourself. Tell me, if it wasn't for Zhao Jiu these years, would you be today? Flender said sourly. His direct disciple is Mahanjan. Although at his age, being able to become the Soul King is already very impressive, but compared with Hu Jiu, it is much worse. Between Soul King and Soul Douluo, there is a 3-level difference. I'm so sorry, my old Zhao has never had a daughter-in-law in his life. Zhao Jiu is my disciple, and I'm still waiting for him to retire for me in the future. Zhao Wuji's dark face became more and more complacent. Being able to become Hu Jiu's teacher is the greatest pride in his life. But Hu Jiu, who was being talked about by them, came to a critical moment. Today he hid in his room alone with you and didn't go anywhere. This is a very crucial day because he will get the first 100,000 year spirit ring. Yes, after the hard work of the on-hook panel, his 7th spirit ring will finally be upgraded to 100,000 years today. This is his first 100,000 year spirit ring. In Douluo continent, there is a huge difference between a spirit master with a 100,000 year spirit ring and a spirit master without a 100,000 year spirit ring. At the same level, with a 100,000 year spirit ring, he could hang other spirit masters. The original Tang San was a good example. Because of Yun's sacrifice, his strength had undergone a qualitative change, and it was also because of this that he was able to seriously injure Tang San. In short, the bullshit is over. Hu Jiu stared at the on-hook panel in front of him that only he could see. In the hang-up position, the age of the 7th spirit ring changed instantly. In an instant, the clothes on Hu Jiu's body were free from wind, and a strong aura erupted. Save the 8 spirit rings in slowly rhythm. The 7th spirit ring with the longest age was pitch black as ink. A little red light flashed in the rich black and then spread out, rendering the entire room where Hu Jiu was in red. That bright red color, as if possessing life, spread rapidly. Hu Jiu's eyes were as bright red as blood. What the? Evolution of the spirit ring caused the spirit power in Hu Jiu's body to riot, and this sudden increase in spirit power almost burst Hu Jiu's body. Diamond. Wrought iron body, open, Hu Jiu gritted his teeth, and while trying to control these spirit powers, he used his body forging spirit skills. With the change of the 7th spirit ring, all of his spirit power began to turn red. The bright red blood-like color made Hu Jiu's soul power full of aggression. The riot continued for 3 full hours, and it didn't stop until midnight. Cool, it's finally over. Hu Jiu wiped away the cold sweat and felt the soul power in his body at least doubled, with a happy smile on his face. Of course, the biggest gain is not the increase in spirit power, but the change in spirit ring skills. After carefully sensing it, Hu Jiu felt the effect of the 7th spirit ring's evolution into 100,000 years from his martial spirit. After a long time, Hu Jiu showed a satisfied smile on his face. For his 7th spirit ring, the original martial spirit evolution ability has not changed, and he can still unconditionally evolve his martial spirit once, and the cooling time is also 1 year. But apart from that, his 7th spirit ring produced another ability. When releasing martial soul avatar, the speed of making ginseng is increased by 30%, and the effect of all ginseng is increased by 30%, and after eating ginseng, it can also resist the enemy's next attack damage. Other effects are not obvious to Hu Jiu. The most important thing is to resist a single damage. This ability is equivalent to a one-time invincible effect. However, this ability has a disadvantage. Each person can only consume it once a day, and even taking it multiple times has no effect. Even so, this ability is extremely powerful. You must know that the effect of his spirit avatar belongs to the rules. No matter how powerful the enemy's attack is, he can resist it. It can be said that this ability can be regarded as a life-saving trump card point. Of course, the age of the 7th spirit ring was increased to 100,000 years, and his level was also increased by 1 level, and his level became 87th level point. With his current rate of improvement, he will be able to break through level 90 in at most half a year, and become a food type titled Douluo. Sure enough, the effect of a 100,000 year spirit ring is powerful. Hu Jiu rubbed his chin and began to imagine how to get a 100,000 year spirit ring. When he reached the 9th level point, this is his last spirit ring, so he must be cautious. But Hu Jiu then thought that Tang San would come out in a while, and after he came out, he would go to Seagad Island. When there was a Seagad test, just get a godsend spirit ring. This was the most suitable for him. Of point thinking of this, Hu Jiu touched the Seagad's heart, which was hung around his neck, and gradually came up with an idea in his heart. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.